How's it going, folks? Welcome to another fun at-home table read. Tonight, we are tackling the cinematic series finale of the TV show Firefly, the movie Serenity. I'm excited. I've always really enjoyed this movie, so let's just get introducing ourselves.
Am I first? I didn't see it. Sorry.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Anne. I will be scene description and Inara.
I'm Logan. I'm going to be Mal.
I'm Lynne, and I'm reading for Zoe.
It's me and John, and I'm playing Wash.
I'm Travis, and I'll be playing Jayne.
I'm Mary. I'll be playing Kaylee.
I'm Erik. I'll be playing Simon.
I'm Carina. I'll be playing River.
I'm Paul. I'll be the operative.
I'm Jen. I'm going to be the book.
All right, well, Anne, take us away.
Serenity, a movie written by Joss Whedon. Again, too far down already. We see the Earth. White pops blossom on the surface. Moments later, ships, huge, intricate space fighters come roaring from the surface, passing camera with a thunder of gas and flame. We hear a woman's voice. Or maybe we don't.
Earth that was could no longer sustain our numbers. We were so many.
We see a solar system, a sun like our own, surrounded by many more planets than ours. They, in turn, surrounded by moons.
We found a new galaxy, dozens of planets and hundreds of moons.
We see a terraform station, a bunker-like complex many miles across, air billowing from it, electricity running over it.
Each one terraformed, a process taking decades to support human life to be new Earths.
We see a futuristic megapolis gleaming and cool.
The central planets were the first settled and are the most advanced, embodying civilization at its peak.
We see an empty desert plain, then pull out to see the entire planet, and further, to see we're on the edge of the galaxy.
Life on the outer planets is much more primitive and difficult. That's why the central planets formed the Alliance, so everyone can enjoy the comfort and enlightenment of true civilization. That's why we fought the world for unification.
During this, a woman steps in front of the last image, and we see it on a wall screen in a exterior classroom day. It's a group of 12-year-olds, serious and well-dressed. They sit on their heels under a sparsely elegant tent, small wooden desks with embedded screens in front of them. The tent is on a lawn surrounded by lush foliage. People walk about the vehicles, glide quietly overhead. A utopian vista.
Now that the war is over, our soldiers get to come home, yes?
Some of them. Some will be stationed on the Rim planet as peace enforcers.
I don't understand. Why were the Independents even fighting?
That's a good question. Does anybody want to open on that?
I hear they're cannibals.
That's what I was going to say. Like, they're cannibals. Bitch eating some shit.
That's only Reavers.
Reavers aren't real.
Full well they are. They attack settlers from space, and they kill them and wear their skins and rape them for hours and hours.
Insert Chinese here. We will enjoy your silence now. It's truer that there are dangers on the outer planets. So let's follow up on Borodin's question. With all the social and medical advancements we can bring to the Independents, why would they fight so hard against us?
We meddle.
River?
River is a dark, intense little girl, writing with one hand and typing with the other. Typing consists of holding a long wooden stylus and tapping either end down on different columns of Chinese characters on her desktop screen. She's a good 2 years younger than the other kids.
People don't like to be meddled with. We tell them what to do, what to think. Don't run, don't walk. We're in their homes and in their heads, and we haven't the right. We're meddlesome.
River, we're not telling people what to think. We're just trying to show them how.
She violently plunges the stylus into the girl's forehead. Holy shit, I forgot about that. Interior lab night. And we flash cut to the actual present, a 16-year-old girl, River, sitting in a metal chair, needle stuck in her skull, one right where the teacher had struck her, and being adjusted by a technician. A second monitors her brain patterns. The lab is cold, blue, steel, insidiously clean.
She's dreaming.
Nightmare?
Off the charts. Scary monsters.
Let's amp it up. Delcium, 8-drop.
Dr. Mathias is not instantly likable, nor gradually, for that matter. A cold man, a more than a little satisfied with himself. Behind him stands a government inspector, observing and making him a little nervous. The inspector is in a shadow, but his uniform indicates substantial rank, as does the eagle-crested baton, no longer than a ruler that he clutches in one gloved hand.
See, most of our best work is done when they're asleep. We can monitor and direct their subconscious, implant suggestions.
River starts convulsing, mewing in misery. The inspector starts forward, slowly.
It's a little startling to see, but the results are spectacular, especially in this case. River Tam is our star pupil.
The inspector steps through the light. He is rigid, cold, staring at the girl with no emotion at all. His name, as we will very soon learn, is Simon.
I've heard that.
She's a genius. Her mental capacity is extraordinary, even with the side effects.
Tell me about them.
Well, obviously, she's unstable. The neural stripping gives them heightened cognitive reception, but it also destabilizes their own reality matrix. It manifests as borderline schizophrenia, which at this point is the price for being truly psychic.
What use do we have for a psychic if she's insane?
I don't have to tell you the security potential of someone who can read minds, and she has lucid periods. We hope to improve upon I'm sorry, sir, I have to ask if there's some reason for this inspection.
Am I making you nervous?
Key members of the parliament have personally observed this subject. I was told their support for the project was unanimous. The demonstration of her power.
How is she physically?
Like nothing we've seen. All our subjects are conditioned for combat, but River, she's a creature of extraordinary grace.
Yes, she always did love to dance.
He drops to one knee, slamming his baton to the floor. Angle the baton. As the top pops up like a bouncing Betty, the grenade that is, flying up over Simon and River's heads and then bursting forth in a flat circle of blue energy that bisects the room, flowing through the staff's heads and knocking them out. Simon rushes to River, gently removes the probes from her head and swabs her, whispering,
River, wake up, please. It's Simon, River. It's your brother. Wake up.
She begins to stir as a noise moves him to the door, looking out and removing his uniform to reveal an orderly's tunic beneath. River is suddenly next to him. He jumps a little.
Simon.
A beat as they faced each other, Simon fighting emotion.
They'd known you come.
Interior guard station continuous. As a guard looks at the monitor, he mostly resembles a Secret Service man, more bureaucrat than thug. A second man rolls into frame on a chair behind him, also wearing or watching the screen. Interior Research Center corridor continuous. Excuse me, Simon walks River through the corridor. They approach a pair of double doors.
We can't make it to the service from inside.
Sorry. Simon turns suddenly as he hears footsteps, people heading at them from the other side of the doors.
Find a...
But River has impossibly scampered up over some lab equipment to the dark top of the corridor, where she holds herself in perfect split, feet against the walls, an outstretched hand holding the sprinkler for support. The doors burst open and the two doctors pass by, hardly noticing the lone orderly passing right under River. Exterior ventilation shaft. Moments later, it's small, 15 feet by 15 feet. Goes a long way up and a long way down. One wide hinged window looks in on a hall inside. Simon and River approach with quiet haste. They slip through the window. Simon shuts it, wedges his baton into the handle as the security agents approach. They fire at the glass, but their lasers have no effect. Wind whips River's hair about as she looks up to see a small patch of daylight visible 10 stories up. She sees the sky blotted out by a small ship that hovers above them. Angle, the ship, is floating over the grass of rolling hills and the city gleaming far beyond. The facility is well hidden. A gurney-sized section of the ship's belly detaches and drops down 10 stories, cables spooling around it out of the ship. It comes to Simon and River, and he stops suddenly.
Get on.
He's standing by the window, and the security agent is right behind him, punching the window with all of his might. Simon helps River into the gurney and then jumps himself, and the security agent cracks the glass. The two are whisked up into the gurney, River underneath, Simon standing beside her, holding one of the cables.
Stop.
The action freezes.
Lovely. Lovely. Backtrack.
The action reverses, taking us back to the moment Simon and River on the gurney, just before it rises.
Stop.
There is a motionless beat. River frozen in that crouch, and he steps through what we now see as a hologram of the event. The government's man, we'll just call him the operative. He is thoughtful, a little removed, wire-rimmed glasses, a suit, too nondescript to be a uniform, but too neat to be casual wear. He is in the Institute Records room, which is a long and bare, but for drawers of holographic records, a setup for watching recordings where the image of Simon and River floats, and a table with a computer and chair. The operative crosses to the table, looks over some papers.
Biograph. Simon Tam.
Close on the operative's glasses. Simon history files down in print and pictures. Graduation security photo from his medical internship over one lens of the operative's glasses.
Remarkable children.
Sorry, the cat ears are killing me. Dr. Mathias storms in, two security men, not the ones from the opening, and nervous young female intern following. Mathias looks grayer and more gaunt than when we saw him last.
Excuse me. No one is allowed in the records room without my express permission.
Answer the doctor. Forgive me. I prefer to see the event alone, without bias.
Mathias looks at the hologram, realizes which one it is.
I need to see your clearance.
You're right to insist. I know you've had security issues here.
He places his hand on a screen as he says it. Mathias looks at the readout and drops the bluster.
Apologies. An operative of the Parliament will, of course, have full cooperation. I'm not sure what. I see no listing of rank or name.
I have neither. Like this facility, I don't exist. The Parliament calls me in when they wish they didn't have to. Let's talk about the TAMs.
I assume you've scanned the status logs.
River was your greatest success, a prodigy, a phenomenon, until her brother walked in 8 months ago and took her from you.
It's not quite so simple.
I'm very aware of that.
He came in with full creds. He beat the app scan, the retinal. There was no way I could.
No, of course. The boy spent his fortune developing the contacts to infiltrate this place.
gave up a brilliant future in medicine as well. You've probably read. Turned his back on his whole life. Madness.
Madness, no. Something a good deal more dangerous. Have you looked at the scan carefully? At his face? It's love, in point of fact. He loved his sister and he knew she was in pain. So he took her somewhere safe.
Why are you here?
I'm here because the situation is even less simple than you think. Do you know what your sin is, Doctor?
I would be very careful about what you...
It's pride.
He touches the computer screen and the holographic image jumps to the doctor and Simon in the lab, Mathias, repeating.
Key members of the parliament have personally observed this subject. I was told their support.
Key members of parliament. Key. The minds behind every diplomatic, military, and covert operation in the galaxy, and you put them in a room with a psychic.
She reads cards, nothing more.
It's come to our attention that River became much more unstable, more disturbed after you showed her off to Parliament. Did she see something very terrible in those cards?
Whatever secrets she may have accidentally gleaned, it's possible she doesn't even know she knows them, that they're buried beneath.
But they are in her. Her mind is unquiet. It's the will of the Parliament that I kill her. And the brother, because of your sin. You know, in certain older civilized cultures, when men failed as entirely as you have, they would throw themselves on their swords.
Well, unfortunately, I forgot to bring a sword too.
The air rings crisply as the operative pulls out his sword.
The Parliament has no further interest in psychics. They represent a threat to the harmony and stability of our alliance.
I would put that down right now if I were you.
Would you be killed in your sleep like an ailing pet? Whatever your failings, I believe you deserve better than that.
The agents move. He slices the throat of one behind him with true grace, thrusting at the second as he's pulling out his gun and pinning his hand. A moment, and the dying agent reflexively squeezes the trigger, shooting his own arm. The operative pulls out the sword, and the agent falls as quietly as the first. Mathias bolts, but the operative pins him to the wall. He bunches his fingers and jabs the side of the doctor's spine. Mathias stiffens, suddenly, agonizingly immobile. The operative steps back, observes the doctor's rigid grimace for a moment. Almost ceremoniously, he drops to one knee and holds the blade out to one side, hilt to the floor and point tilted towards the doctor. The doctor stares at it in horror as his paralyzed body begins to tip over towards it. The operative turns towards the terrified intern at the door.
Young miss, I'll need all the logs on behavioral modification triggers. We'll have to reach out to River Tam and help her to come back to us. No matter how far out Simon has taken her, we can...
He's almost startled when the doctor's body drops into the flame, slowed suddenly by the frame, slowed suddenly by the sword. It squeaks down the blade, the doctor unable to cry out, as the operative whispers to him.
This is a good death. There's no shame in this, in a man's death. A man who's done fine works. We're making a better world. All of them. Better worlds.
Mathias is dead. The operative pulls the sword out as the body rolls over. He wipes the sword down.
Young miss, I need you to get to work now. I think I may have a long way to travel.
She goes. He approaches River, very close, staring.
Where are you hiding, little girl?
The noise is sucked suddenly out of the room as we black out. Serenity becomes the name painted on the side of a spaceship with the same in Chinese behind it. Exterior space, orbiting the moon, lilac, day. We move away from the ship. The name is on the nose, under the bridge. It sticks out from the body of the ship like a craning neck. The body is bulbous with the propulsion engines on either side and a giant glowing back. There are two small shuttles tucked in over the wings of the engine. It's not as sleek a ship in the verse, to be sure. As it hits Atmo, the propulsion engines take over and she starts to rock a bit. Noise filling our ears. Camera comes around the front, all the windows into the bridge to see Captain Malcolm Mal Reynolds standing and watching. At that moment, a small piece of the nose breaks off and goes flying past the window. Interior bridge, continuous. Note, the following sequence will take us through the ship in one extended Steadicam shot. The bridge is small, 2 pilot seats, 1 on either side, and a tangle of wires and machinery all about. Mal wears the knee-length brown coat and boots of an old independent, gun at his hip. He's not unlike the ship. He's seen a bit of the world and it's left him, emotionally least, weathered. Right now, though, he's mostly startled.
What was that?
He's addressing the pilot. Wash. Flight gear and a Hawaiian shirt. Toy dinosaurs populating a station. No old soldier, but just as startled.
Whoa, did you just see that?
The ship bucks.
Is that the primary buffer panel?
It did seem to resemble.
Did the primary buffer panel just fall off my GoRam ship for no apparent reason?
Another buck.
Looks like.
I thought Kaylee checked the entry couplings. I have a very clear memory of it.
Yeah, well, if she doesn't give us some sort of extra flow from the engine room to offset the afterburner, like this landing's gonna get pretty interesting.
Define interesting.
Oh God, we're all going to die.
This is Captain. There's a little problem with our entry sequence. You may experience some slight turbulence and then explode. Can you shade the vector?
I'm doing it, but it's not enough. Kaylee,
just get us on the ground.
That'll happen. Pretty definitely.
Interior foredeck hall, continuous. The camera leads Mal down. On either side of the hall are ladders leading down to the crew's personal quarters. The hulking mercenary, Jayne, is coming up out of his bunk as Mal passes. He carries a number of rifles and grenades. Jesus, Travis is Jayne.
I hope I know how these work. We're gonna explode. I don't want to explode.
Jayne, how many weapons do you plan on bringing? You only got the 2 arms.
I just got excitable as to choice, like to have my options open.
I don't plan on any shooting taking place during this job.
Well, what you plan and what takes place ain't ever exactly been similar.
No grenades. Hey, no grenades.
Jesus Christ. First mate Zoe enters from the lower level. Her mode of dress and military deference mark her as a war buddy of Mal's.
We crashing again?
You talk to your husband. Is the fuel prepped?
Good to go, sir. Just loading her up. Are those grenades?
Captain doesn't want them.
We're robbing the place. We're not occupying it.
All that plays in the background as we lead Mal into the dining room. It's the communal space of the ship. Homey, messy. There's food left lying on the table. Mal swipes a dumpling from the plate, pops it in his mouth as another jolt rocks him and sends most of the tableware clattering to the floor.
Kaylee!
He enters the aft hall engine room.
Kaylee, what in the sphincter hell are you playing at?
The hall leads up to the rust-brown chaos that is the engine room. Working around the engine room in a forest of wires, sparks, and smoke is a sweetly pretty mechanic, Kaylee. She passes Mal with a slightly impatient, oh my God, the grease, I love it. Slightly impatient smile as he stands in the doorway, raising his voice above the den.
We got the primary buffer panel just...
Everything's shiny, Captain. Not to fret.
You told me the entry couplings would hold for another week.
That was 6 months ago, Captain.
My ship don't crash. If she crashes, you crashed her.
Ooh, shoot, too far down, sorry. Steam and electricity shoot at him, backing him up. He turns to see Simon from behind him. Simon is more seasoned than before, but still contrasts the captain entirely in dress and manner. He is impeccably proper, also pissed.
Doctor, guess need to get a knock before we hit planet side.
Simon nods, the ship jolting again.
Rocky ride, nothing to worry about.
I'm not worried.
Fear's nothing to be ashamed of, Doc.
This isn't fear. This is anger.
Well, it's kind of hard to tell one from the other face like yours.
I imagine if it were fear, my eyes would be wider.
Look for that next time.
You're not taking her.
No, that's not a thing I'm interested in talking over with.
She's not going with you. That's final.
I hear the words "that's final" come out of your mouth again, and they truly will be. This is my boat. Y'all are guests on it.
He heads down the side corridor that has steps leading down to interior passenger door. Simon is right on his heels as we lead down the stairs.
Guess? I earned my passage, Captain.
And it's time your little sister learned from your fine example.
I've earned my passage treating bullet holes, knife wounds, laser burns.
Yeah, some of our jobs are trickier than others.
And you want to put my sister in the middle of that.
Didn't say want, said will. It's one job, Doc. She'll be fine.
The passenger dorm has a time-worn warmth that is most of the ship shares, except, of course, for the sterile blue of the infirmary, into which the two men step.
17-year-old girl, a mentally traumatized savante.
She's a reader, seasoned to the truth of things. Might see trouble before it's coming, which is of use to me.
And that's your guiding star, isn't it? What's of use?
Honestly, Doctor, I think we may really crash this time anyway.
Simon jabs the inoculation needle into Mel's arm.
Do you understand what I've gone through to keep River away from the Alliance?
I do. And it's a fact me and mine have been courteous enough to keep to our own selves.
Are you threatening to...
I got one purpose here. Keep this boat in the air. Take the jobs I get, which is less and less, in case you ain't been keeping track.
He starts away, Simon still keeping pace.
Every year since the war, the Alliance pushes just a little further out towards the rim. Makes it a chore for naughty men like us to slip about. And keeping you two on board means working twice as hard to avoid the law. It means turning down a score of honest jobs.
Interior cargo bay continuous. They enter the biggest space on the ship. Giant doors sit at the front, which will open up, landing to reveal a lowering ramp. Catwalks surround the space leading up at the front to the foredeck hall. We've come all the way through Serenity.
So here's us, on the raggedy edge. Don't push me, and I won't push you. Waldman, Quintoma.
Simon starts up the stairs as Mal calls to him.
Things get gritty. I will keep her from coming from the fray, but she's coming. Best you get her ready.
As Mal walks on, we tilt up to see the mule, a 4-man hovercraft hanging from the chains near the ceiling. Jayne and Zoe are tossing duffel bags into it.
Zoe, is Walsh going to straighten this boat out before we get flattened?
Like a downy feather, sir. Nobody flies like my mister.
The camera picks up Simon's feet as they enter the foreground of the catwalk and track with them to find
River.
She's lying on her side, looking straight at us, loose summer dress draped over her small frame.
I know. We're going for a ride.
Exterior lilac desert gulch day. Serenity settles gently down as the cargo bay door opens. Interior cargo bay continuous. The chains are hoisted back up to the ceiling of the ship. The mule floats just above the floor, Jayne piling in next to River in the back.
Now, River, you stay behind with the others. If there's fighting, you drop to the floor or run away. It's okay to leave them to die.
River puts on a huge pair of goggles, looks at her brother.
I'm the brains of the operation.
We should hit town right during Sunday worship. Won't be any crowds.
If Fanty and Mingo are right about the payroll, this could look to be a sunny day for us.
Captain, I'll ask you one last time.
Doctor, I'm taking your sister under my protection here. If anything happens to her, anything at all, I swear to you, I will get very choked up. Honestly, there could be tears.
He peels out, leaves Simon fuming. Kaylee sidles up to him.
Don't mind the captain none, Simon. I know what to look out for.
It's amazing. I bring River all the way out to the raggedy edge of the verse so he can hide from the Alliance by robbing banks.
It's just a little trading station. They'll be back before you can split. Not that you can spit.
Kaylee watches him go, a tad forlorn. Exterior lilac day. We see the town sprawled before us. As the mule heads in, the town embodies the lives of folk out there. Adobe and wood mixed with metal and plastic, whatever's on hand to build with. Right now, the streets are mainly empty. Exterior trading station. The mule pulls up, Zoe hitching it as they speak.
What are we hoping to find here that equals the worth of a turd?
Alliance payroll. There's peace enforcement squad stations all around the squadron. Can't use credits out here. They got to pay their boys in cashy money. once a month, rests here.
Something about stealing from the Alliance just warms a body like whiskey in winter.
Shiny. Let's be bad guys.
Mal turns back to River.
You ready to go to work, darling?
There's no pattern to the pebbles here. They're completely random. I tried to count them, but he drove too fast. Hummingbird.
Right, great. Let's go.
Interior trading station day. We are in the camera's eye view, right above the door. The door slams open. Mal and Jayne stride in, Zoe following and whipping her hog leg right at the camera without looking. Reverse to see the camera is also a small screen with "Welcome to Lilac" on it for the millisecond before it's blown to bits. There are maybe 15 people in the place, store workers, farm folk, and a couple of dirt poor kids. It's a combination of post office, general store, bank, and most other things.
Hands and knees and heads bowed down. Everybody now.
Two men appear to be farm folk rush Mal and the others. Mal draws on the elder one and he stops dead in his tracks. Mal's gun is long, not unlike Civil War era issue, but very much new in design. The other tries to tackle Jayne, which is not necessarily a great idea. Jayne clotheslines him so hard he spins right upside down, and Jayne grabs him by the legs and crack, bounces his head right off the floor, knocking him out cold.
Y'all want to be looking very intently at your own belly buttons. I see a head start to rise. Violence is going to ensue.
The guy who pushed Mal complies along with everyone else. Jayne dumps his catch on the floor and rips open his dirty shirt to reveal the purple of an Alliance uniform.
Looks like this is the place.
He looks up at Mal, who motions for Zoe to open the front door. She does, and River steps in. Angle River's bare feet, walking slowly among the hunched over customers as Mal addresses him.
You probably guess we mean to be thieving here, but what we are after is not yours. We'll have no undue fuss.
Excuse me, as he's speaking, Jayne is scrambling off to the back office, finding the small vault locked.
She's locked up.
River suddenly looks around, perturbed. Close on, a young tough. River looks up at Zoe, alarmed, and silently points to the young man. He is slowly reaching for the weapon in his belt. He finds Zoe sawed-off, nuzzling his cheek.
You know what the definition of a hero is? It's someone who gets other people killed. You can look it up later.
He drops his weapon, slides it across the floor. Mal moves to the trade agent, hauls him up, tosses him towards the vault. Zoe and Jayne follow. This is just a crop moon. Don't think you'll find what you...
Bye, sweet Ryan. We are more value.
The old man punches in the code. What opens is a tiny wall safe, bundles of bills, some scattered coin, unimpressive. Jayne and Zoe are behind the captain, peering in.
At last, we can retire and give up this life of crime.
Mal reaches in, pulls a lever, and the floor opens. A 6-foot hole appearing, stairs leading to a corridor, all gleaming metal and blue light. Zoe smiles. Jayne peers down as Mal addresses the trade agent.
Sarah, Fed down there? Be truthful.
Y'all are browncoats, eh? Fought for independence?
War's long done. We're all just folk now. Hey, listen up. We are coming down to empty that vault.
The voice of a young Alliance guard comes up from below.
You have to give me your authorization password.
Jayne impatiently fires a burst of machine gun fire down into the hole. A beat.
Okay.
Mal looks at Zoe and they head down into the vaults, which is a modern, as something off of Central Planets. A short corridor leads to the real vault door, and the guard is already opening. Behind that door, a few bags of the real deal, neatly stacked, cash waiting to be robbed. Interior trading station continuous. We move in on River as something crosses her face. Worry. Exterior town day. A woman carrying a bucket and her 9-year-old son are looking at the trading station a few buildings away.
Hey, Peter. It sounds something like gun blast. Maybe you ought to want to tell the lawman.
She runs right by her. In the shadows is a man, mostly. He is hideously disfigured, a combination of self-mutilation and the bubbling red of radiation poisoning. His clothes are rags, his eyes pinpoints of glazed madness. A blade blurs through the frame. Interior trading station continuous. River screams and flops onto her back, pinned by revelation. The others looked at her, concerned, as Jayne makes his way to her.
What the hell is up? You all right? What's going on?
He holds her as she whispers, wide-eyed.
Reavers.
Interior vault moments later. Zoe is hauling out the last 5 bags. Mal is in talks to the guard, holding his gun at him.
The leg's good. It'll bleed plenty and we avoid any necessary organs.
I was thinking more of a graze.
Well, you don't want to look like you just gave up.
Mal.
Every heist has got to start yelling my name incorrectly. It's Mal. What?
So true. Say again?
Jesus Christ.
Mal, Rivers, the girls bitching a fit. They're here or they're coming soon.
He's already loading up with the bags. Mal thinks quickly.
Get to the mule. Does that open from the inside?
Yes.
You get everyone upstairs in there and you seal it. As long as you had air, you don't open it. You understand?
Mal is in his face, dark and huge.
Get them inside the vault.
Exterior trading station day. The doors burst open. Jayne and Zoe coming out first. Mal behind with River in hand. She's freaked in her own space. Jayne and Zoe throw the bags on.
Zoe, take the wheel.
You see him? Anybody see him?
And jump on themselves. Mal scanning the area as he hands River up to Jayne's care. As the craft powers up, slowly moving, the young man, Zoe, kept first out of the station, grabbing the back of the mule.
Take me with you.
Get back in the vault with the others.
I can't stay here, please.
It's too many. Drive, Zoe.
A reaver raft roars over their heads. It's nearly the size of Serenity, torn apart, belching smoke. A welded conglomeration of ruined ships, painted for war. Predator pure. It disappears over the rooftops.
Please.
Drive.
Zoe's face is set with the unhappy determination as she floors it, shooting out and leaving a young man in dust. As they move from him, 4 reavers jump out from the shadows and grab the young man. Mal unhesitantly draws his gun. He nudges with a lever in his thumb and the cartridge pops back. The Mal fires twice. The young man takes both bullets in the chest and slumps down dead. Angle on the edge of town. As the mule shoots past the last building, we see a skip shoot out from behind the buildings of the adjacent street right abreast of our gang. In the center of town, we see the church as the first ship and the even larger one come to hover over it. Reavers dropping down on cable lines to swarm into it. Exterior desert. The mule and the skiff are booking through the rocky terrain. The skiff swings closer and Jayne peppers it with automatic fire as it swings away. There's a sporadic return of fire.
How come they ain't blowing us out of the air?
They want to run us down. See the up close kill.
River is squashed down on her back, being very small.
They want us alive when they eat us.
Boy, sure would be nice if we had some grenades, don't you think?
Mal says nothing, keeps firing.
Wash, baby, can you hear me?
Interior Serenity Bridge continuous. Wash is in a frenzy of switch flipping, prepping for takeoff.
Yeah, we're moments from air. You got somebody behind you?
We intercup with Wash and Zoe at this point.
Reavers.
Merciless hell.
We're not going to reach you in time.
Just keep moving, honey. We're coming to you.
Exterior Serenity continuous. As she lifts off, this starts heading towards the others. Exterior desert. Zoe gets the mule in front, but a harpoon swings through the air from the skiff and goes through Jayne's leg. Ouch. The harpoon grips the leg and pulls. Jayne goes flying off the back of the mule. Mal just grabbing him as the harpoon line reels slowly tighter.
Grab on.
Jayne grabs the mule, legs dangling, pulled out between the two vessels as Mal slams the new cartridge into his pistol.
I won't get it. You shoot him if they take him. Me.
Mal steadies himself, takes aim seemingly at Jayne.
Well, don't shoot me first.
Please do. Mal fires again, steadies himself for one more. That line holding the harpoon is split by Mal's third shot. The mule surges forward as Jayne drags on the ground. Mal hauls him as River bounds into the front to make room.
Running pigs. Where's
And River is holding out his weapon before he can ask for it. Exterior, another part of the desert, Serenity rushes across the desert floor, not much higher off than the smaller crafts.
Okay, just get some distance on them. You come to the flats, I want you to swing around. We're going to try a barn swallow.
Interior bridge continuing. Wash hits the comm.
Simon, open the loading dock.
Interior cargo bay. Simon moves next to the huge sliding doors at the front, hits a couple of buttons. The doors pull open and the huge ramp beyond them opens down, letting in a rush of wind and light. Exterior desert. The mule reaches the flats away from the rocks.
Okay. All right, baby. We talked this through.
Talking ain't doing.
She throws the wheel and the mule comes hard about, fishtailing slightly as it faces the oncoming skiff.
Don't slow down.
Angle the skiff as it heads for the mule. On the mule, as it heads off for the skiff, Serenity swoops down out of the sky. Bay doors open and comes right up behind it. The mule is swallowed by the bigger ship. Interior cargo bay continuous, and only its forward momentum keeps it from being squashed as it flies backwards into the bay, narrowly missing Simon and smashing into the back staircase. Sparks and people flying. Exterior desert. Serenity tries to get altitude, but slams right into the oncoming skiff, tearing it apart. Interior cargo bay. A flaming portion of the top flies in, skids to the floor as small fires erupt from the mule as well. Simon pulls the lever down, jets of CO2 out of the floor. Simon hits the button to start the outer ramp closing, then runs into the mule. The CO2 stops as he finds River sitting in her seat, completely unharmed. Zoe is climbing painfully out the other seat. Mal and Jayne both having been thrown.
River?
Shoot. Swamp bug.
Kaylee runs in to see how everyone is. She goes to Simon.
Are you okay?
Is he okay?
And a bloodied River pops into the frame from under the skiff top and he lunges for Mal, baring sharpened teeth. I said River, not Reaver, I apologize. Mal spins and draws, fires into his belly, and Jayne and Zoe both fire at the same time. The freak takes too long to go down, but down he goes, dies sitting against the skiff top. Everybody takes a moment to look at each other.
Are we all here? What's going on? Hello?
No casualties. Anybody following?
Nice flying, baby. And that's a negative. Clean getaway. Out of that mountain in 6 minutes.
Yeah. Set course for Beaumont. First thing, I want these.
Simon suddenly punches him in the face, causing Mal to stumble back and Simon to shake his head in pain.
You want a bullet? Do you want a bullet right in your throat?
Stupid, selfish son of a whore.
I'm a hair's breadth from riddling you with holes, Doctor.
One simple job. She'll be fine.
She is fine. Except for being so crazy, she's the picture of health.
Wasn't for River. He might be left there. She felt him coming.
Never again. You understand me?
I seem to remember a talk about you giving orders on my boat.
Well, sleep easy, because we're off your boat just as soon as River gets her share of the bounty.
Well, let's not do anything hasty.
No, shining. Sick of carrying tourists anyhow. We'll be on Beaumont in 10 hours' time. You can pick up your earnings and be on your merry. Meantime, you do your job. Patch up my crew.
He didn't lie down. They never lie down.
She's looking at the Reaver. Everyone does for a moment. Interior foredeck hall. Mal and Zoe enter from below.
No. I think things will glide a deal smoother for us without River and Simon on board. But how long do you think they'll last?
Doc made his call. They was babes in a basket when we took them. We sheltered him plenty. Managed to cut loose, learn to stand on his own.
Like that man back in town.
They stop by Mal's room.
I had to shoot him, but the Reavers would have done him before they killed him.
I know. That was a piece of mercy. But before that, him begging us to bring him along.
Couldn't take the weight. Would have slowed us down.
You know that for certain?
Mule won't run with 5. What, I should have dumped the girl? Or you? Or Jayne? Oh, Jayne.
Could toss the payload.
Trust me. And go to Fanty and Mingo with the air in our midst and tell them, here's your share. Let's set the dogs on us in the space of a twitch. And there we are, back in mortal peril. We get a job we got to make good.
Wash enters from the bridge.
Sir, I don't disagree on any particular point. It's just, in the time of war, we would have never left a man stranded.
Maybe that's why we lost.
She's not happy with the reply. Mal climbs down to his room as Wash reaches Zoe, slides his arm around her. Interior Mal's room. Once alone, Mal lets his own disappointment show. He pulls off his holster and drops it over a chair, kicks the toilet clothes and sits on his bunk. The place resembles a submarine cabin with charts and clutter, ancient maps on the walls. Mal moves a bunch of papers off of his bunk and a picture slides out, hits the floor and starts moving. It's a snapshot movie of interior, Inara's shuttle, day. We're close on a beautiful woman who looks at us with amused exasperation. Behind her is an opulently dressed little shuttle. Kaylee, are you ever gonna put that capture down?
We gotta have records of everything. A bona fide companion entertained clients on this very ship, in this very bed.
The picture pans over to the bed, which River is bending over and sniffing curiously, and hers packing things up.
For one sweet second, we was almost classy.
You promised to help me pack.
Honest, Inara. Why do you have to leave?
Inara shoots an uncertain look at the camera and picture freezes, goes back to the beginning. During all of this, Mal has picked it up. He looks at it a moment, tosses it aside, and looks around at nothing much.
I do not get it. How's a guy get so wrong?
Interior cargo bay later. We see the doors and the floor slide open. A second set below. Hand to see for a moment. A dead River's face. Kaylee is opening a bunch of doors with a keypad on a cable. Jayne drags the corpse closer to the doors as he continues. I keep saying River instead of Reaver. I apologize.
Ain't logical cutting on his own face, raping and murdering. I mean, I'll kill a man in a fair fight, or if I think he's gonna start a fair fight, or if he bothers me, or if there's a woman or I'm getting paid, mostly when I'm getting paid. But these Reavers, less 10 years, just show up like the boogeyman from stories, eating people alive. Where does that get fun?
He dumps the body in. She starts the doors closing.
Shepherd Book said that there was a man that reached the edge of space, saw vastly nothingness, and just went bipedally over it.
Hell, I've been to the edge. Just look like more space.
I don't know. People get awfully lonely in the black, like get addle-padded ourselves. We stay on this boat much longer, Captain will drive us all off one by one.
You're just in weak because that prissy doc is finally disembarking. Me, I says, good riddance. He never belonged here, and his sister's no sander than one of them Reavers.
That ain't even so. River's a dear heart and a boon to this crew. You just don't like her because she can read your mind and everything you think is mean.
Well, there is that.
Her and Simon could have a place here. Now they're leaving us. Just like Shepherd's Book.
She looks up toward one of the shuttles.
Just like Inara.
Interior companion training house day. And here she is, moving back and down into the frame. Her eyes are half closed in passion. She settles on a cluster of brocaded pillows, and we see another head lowering in for a kiss. Come around to see it's another lovely young woman, and that there's a group of 10 others watching intently, all in saris on their knees. 2 handsome young men with shaved heads in the back, also on their knees. And Inara stops before the kiss, smiling and coming back up. She speaks to the girls. We only hear soft music as she repositions the one she's with, lowering again, slowing the motion of surrender as if it were a dance step.
They love you.
Interior Companion Training Center, house dusk. Inara looks out at the mountains. The space she's in resembles a Tibetan monastery, if slightly more opulent. Waiting to see she's with Sheydra, a somewhat older companion, the woman whose voice we heard. She hands Inara a drink.
The girls, they've learned more from you from these last months, and the rest of us could learn in a couple of years.
They're very sweet, but they're not companions.
You've no hope for them? Junk them? Junk this lot? Start new?
Listen, we started training at 12. Years of discipline and preparation before the physical act of pleasure was even mentioned. Most of these girls...
They're all of good family. The highest of academic standards.
Control is the first lesson. And the last, these worlds are not like the central planets. There's barbarism dressed up in the most civil weeds. Most of the men in the highest rank who don't know the difference between a companion and a common whore. It's unsafe.
All the more reason for out here to look, these girls look to you. You came out, Jesus Christ. You came out here alone before the Alliance ever thought to establish a house this remote. You've seen so much.
Are you okay?
No. I can't. No, my legs are not okay. All the more reason that the girls look to you. You come out here alone. Before the Alliance. Nope.
All the more reasons the girls look to you. You came here alone before the Alliance ever thought to establish a house this remote. You've seen so much. You're a figure of great romance to them.
Great romance has nothing to do with being a companion, Sheydra. You should know better.
I'm not the one who has a torrid affair with the pirate.
Nara nearly spills a drink. I'm sorry, a who with a what?
It's the talk of the house. The girls all trade stories in the dorms at night.
I didn't have a pirates?
In one of the stories, you make love in a burning temple. I think it's my favorite.
This is unbearable. Captain Reynolds is no pirate. He's a petty thief. He never laid a finger on me. All he ever did was rent me a shuttle and be very annoying. Sorry, Chinese people.
A year on his shuttle and he never laid a finger on you? No wonder you left.
I left because... No, go away. We're no longer friends. You're a stranger to me now.
I do love to watch you boil. Don't worry. The stories will fade, and your Captain Reynolds has probably gotten himself blown up by this time.
Yes, that would be just like him. Exterior, Beaumont Atoll Plaza. Serenity touches down on the crowded atoll amidst a number of other equally disreputable ships. The place is filled with every kind of immigrant culture and shop imaginable. Exterior, interior, Serenity, evening. The ramp is open and everyone is filing out, ready to hit the town. Kaylee is talking to Simon, who has River in hand.
Don't talk to the Barkers, only the captains. You look the captain in the eye, know who you're dealing with.
I wish there was.
Since he doesn't know what to say, she rattles on.
You should have ought to be so clean. It's dead giveaway you don't belong. You always got to be tidy. Don't pay attention in advance. And ride in everything with the Kepson 38 engine. They fall right out of the sky.
Kaylee.
She turns and heads off. Simon starts in the other direction, but River looks after her and the others.
River, do you want to stay with them?
It's not safe.
No, I fear it's not safe anymore.
He's heading off and doesn't hear.
For them.
Interior, the Maidenhead continues. We start on a core view screen showing a news report. On the screen is a shot of the town. Our gang robbed. Now half of it is smoking ruin.
That it was a band of Reavers remains unconfirmed. The only survivors of the massacre apparently locked themselves in the trade station vault until...
During this, we come around to see through the screen that has a blinking light behind it, come through the wiring at the back to look out at the bar with the word recording in the corner. Every screen is a camera, even down here. We pick up Mal and Kaylee heading down into the bar, cutting away from the camera's view. We look through stories. Sorry, I thought I heard my cat. No. Away from the view, we can look 2 stories straight down as they go to a closed group of dark tables and booths on a second screen playing in the corner.
It's not my fault the doc's got no stomach for rim living.
It is entirely and for all your fault. If you'd given Simon a moment, just a moment, where he didn't think you were going to throw him off or turn them in, he might have.
Struck you into his... He loved to you.
Breaking up a little there. They have reached the gun check where Jayne and Wash have already checked their guns. It works a little like a lunch automat. Mel sticks his gun in a drawer, pulls out a chit. The drawer closes and rotates, revealing another empty one. A large bouncer with a shock rod watches impassively.
Don't you dare joke. You know how much I pined on Simon and him fair sweet on me. I well believe, but he's so worried about being found out.
That didn't make them fugitives.
But he could have made them family. Instead, driving him off. Instead of keeping Simon from seeing I was there and I was carried such a torch, and we could have going on a year. Now I ain't got nothing twixt my neithers weren't run on batteries.
Oh God, I can't know that.
I could stand to hear a little more.
If you had a care for anybody's heart, you woulda.
You knew he was gonna leave. We've never been but a way station to those two. And how do you know what he feels? He's got River to worry on, and he still could have shown you. Look, if I truly wanted someone bad enough, wouldn't be a thing in the verse could stop me from going to.
Tell that to Inara.
For a moment, Mal is too shocked to react. Kaylee storms out.
Domestic troubles?
Mingo is a young, tough, and somewhere between a gangster and a fur trader. Sounds lower class British or something like it.
Domestic troubles?
Mingo is young, tough, somewhere between... Oh, sorry. Fanty moves out from behind Mingo to reveal that he is Mingo's identical twin. Apart from the slight differences in dress, they are indistinguishable.
Because we don't want to interrupt.
Man should keep his house in order.
Mingo, Fanty.
He's Mingo.
He's Fanty. You're Mingo.
Gah! How did you always know?
Fanty's prettier. Feel to do some business?
Bit crowded, isn't it? As you see, we come unencumbered by thugs.
Which means at least 4 of the guys already in here are yours. All's one. I'll just keep Jayne with me.
Sir, are you sure you don't?
Yeah, go. Go have yourself a nice romantic meal.
Those are my 2 favorite words. Honey, meal.
It's business. Fine.
They leave and the 4 remaining men sit. Fanty tosses a few coins to a saloon girl, does a little fun dance. Angle in the core view camera's POV of the men is conveniently blocked by their little dance. Mousefoot nudges a duffel bag of money into Mingo's feet.
What a crew you've got.
Yeah, they're a fine bunch of Rubens.
How you keep them on that crap boat is the subject of much musing between me and Fanty.
We go on and on.
Yeah, so I'm noticing. Is there a problem I don't know if you got 25% of a sweet take kiss in your foot? How come we're not dispersing?
Our end is 40, precious. My muscular buttocks, it's 40.
It is as of now. Find anyone around going cheaper?
Find anyone around going near a sorry lot like you in the first instance.
Angle, River is entered and is looking about. Jayne sees her and nudges Mal, who looks and turns back to business. We stay on her as she wanders around the perimeter of the bar, vaguely listening in on Mal's deal.
You're unlikable, Mal. You got no respect for us above you. You got enemies in every quadrant, and your ship's older than the starting point of time. Your charity cases to such as us.
Well, here's a foul thought. I thought you 2 were incompetent. Send us out knowing there were reavers about. Now I'm thinking you picked us out because you did.
That were a sign of faith, boy, and it doesn't affect our 40 per. Danger is, after all, your business.
Reavers ain't business, double dickless.
Jesus Christ, Travis. This is all background noise to River, who has moved to the CV screen on which is a commercial. It's animated, goofy, cartoon animals and anime-style Asian girls all transforming to insane fantasy figures as they sing about.
Fruity OT bars make a man out of a mouse. Fruity OT bars make you bust out of your blouse. Eat them all the time. Let them blow your mind. Fruity OT bars.
We pushed in the light from the CV on River's face, pushing to extreme close-up, all noise but the jingle of fading light out. Finally, that as well. Just the hum in River's ears. She whispers,
Miranda.
She turns and looks back at the crowd. What happens next is very fast. She strides silently to the first table, 2 men drinking quietly as she slams her foot into one's face, then whips it back into the others, knocking them both unconscious as people are turning, just registering that this girl kicks the table into a card player as she sweeps a bottle off behind her. The bottle hits a man behind her square in the face, a man she never even looked at. People are rising, fleeing, pushing forward.
River?
What?
She's taking out a group of 4, high kicks with a perfect precision. 2 men come from either side, one whipping out a knife. She does a perfect split, grabs the wrist above her head, using his momentum to stab the other one. Mal fights to get back the gun rack. The bouncer reaches her, and she wrests his shock rod from him. He uses it on him, on Fanty and Mingo. The fan dancer is bolting, and River hurls the rod at her head, knocks her cold. She's everywhere, on the tables, chairs, under your legs, using the room itself to take out every single person there. One man hides behind the wall. Impossibly, she swings her leg around the corner and nails his face. Jayne grabs her from behind.
Run it, girl, it's me.
She grabs his crotch and squeezes. His grip loosens and she spins, facing him flat, heels his nose with her palm, trilling into a gut kick that doubles him over, dispatching another while she cracks Jayne's head with a small table. Somebody pulls a gun and she snaps his elbow, causing him to scream out before he even shoots himself in the gut. Mal frantically wrestles a gun from the vending locker as River knocks out the other guy's gun in the air, kicks it with someone else, and then catches it, whips around just as Mal comes up with his, and they are pointed right at each other.
Eta Caron knock smack.
And River drops to the ground, fast asleep. There's a beat. Mal looks around the bar. He and Simon, who has run up to the entrance, are the only ones standing. He looks down at River. She lies, unconscious, helpless.
I think maybe we ought to leave.
Exterior space, night. We see 2 sleep warships glide silently into frame, followed by a third bigger ship. This is the Operative's vessel, and it is everything Serenity is not. Sleek, predatory, icy cool. Entering the Operative ship bridge, continuing. The Operative is looking at the Maidenhead security feed, and River is staring right at him.
Hello again. Yes, it's me. I'm glad you finally asked for me.
An Ensign is revealed looking at a separate monitor.
We got a pass on a retinal. Man carrying her out is Malcolm Reynolds. Captain's a firefight class transport ship Serenity. Bound by law 5 times smuggling tariff dodge. Not convicted, nothing here that would.
The ship. The name of the ship. Crossref. Malcolm Reynolds. Serenity.
He looks over the Ensign with a small, strange smile on his lips, not his hips. Why would he smile with his hips? His glasses are covered by text.
Sir?
Serenity Valley. Bloodiest battle of the entire war. The Independents held the valley for 7 weeks, 2 of them after their high command had surrendered. 68% casualty rate.
Of course, sir. I just didn't.
There.
His glasses stop scrolling, and Mal's military file opens, a picture of Mal in one lens.
If the feds ever bothered to cross-ref justice files with war records. Yes, our Mr. Reynolds was a sergeant. 57th Overlanders. Volunteer. Fought at Serenity until the very last. This man is an issue. This man hates us.
First mate Zoe Washburn, formerly Corporal Zoe Alain, also in the 57th. Career Army, looks like.
She followed him far. Give me the crew, registered passengers. Our captain is a passionate man, no room for subtlety. He's bound to have some very obvious weakness.
Interior storage locker, night. River is still asleep. Mal finishing chaining her wrists. She lies on her side, evenly. Mal stares at her a moment, then interior dining room. He exits to find the whole group waiting for him. Sans watch.
May I see her?
She's still napping just now. I believe you had some storytelling to do.
We're out of Atmo, plotted in Haven. No one following as of yet.
Haven? We're gonna see Shepherd Book?
You need to lay low. All right. Fair use and spiritual guidance right about now. So I'm a lost lamb. What the hell happened back there?
You know, maybe start with the part where Jayne gets knocked out by a 90-pound girl, because I don't think that one's ever getting old.
Do we know if anyone was killed?
Yeah, it's likely. You know, she meant to kill me before the doc put her asleep. Which, how exactly does that work anyhow?
Safe word. The people who helped me break River out, they had intel that River and the other subjects were being embedded with behavioral conditioning. They taught me a safe word in case something happened.
Not sure I get it.
A phrase that's encoded in her brain makes her fall asleep. If I speak the words, is it ETA? If I speak the words ETA.
Well, don't say it.
It only works on her, Jayne.
Oh, well, now I know that.
In case something happened?
What?
You feel to elaborate on what that something might be? When they taught you a fancy safe word, they must have figured she was gonna, start uncontrollably crocheting?
They never said what.
And you never did ask.
Mal grabs him and throws him against the wall. In his
8 months. 8 months you had her on my boat knowing full well she could go monkey shit at the wrong word, and you never said a thing.
You brought her out here so they couldn't get to her. I brought her out here so they couldn't get to her. I don't even know how they...
My ship, my crew, you had a go-ram time bomb living with us.
Interior storage interior storage locker. River's eyes open. Interior dining room.
What if she went off in the middle of dinner or in bunk with Kaylee? Did that give you a moment's pause?
Simon looks at Kaylee. The truth of Mal's words hitting him.
I thought she was getting better.
And I thought they was getting off. Didn't we have an intricate plan how they was gonna to be not here anymore?
We couldn't leave them now.
No, now that she's a killer woman, we ought to be bringing them tea and dumplings. In earnest, Mal, why did you bring her back on?
Mal looks at
Jayne.
Mal. Like malevolent.
Oh, like
all of them. Doesn't have an answer.
Again, may I see her?
Mal steps inside. Simon enters the locker.
She goes woolly again. We're gonna have to put a bullet to her.
Interior storage locker. River Mal's the next words right along with Mal. Interior dining room.
Crossed my mind.
Can I make this suggestion that doesn't involve violence, or is this the wrong crowd? Fanty and Mingo might be coming hard down on us, or the laws, or maybe nobody could be bunged about a little social brawl. We need to get out. We need to get our bearings. I think we need to talk to Mr. Universe.
Exterior space, night. The camera swoops in at a sparking ion cloud, then through the cloud at the barren metallic satellite moon, then further into reveal a sprawling and completely empty communications complex. A giant satellite dishes everywhere. Interior Mr. Universe's HQ. Continuing, inside we find an unkempt young man, also sleep deprived, over caffeinated and kind of sweet. This is Mr. Universe. He's alone before his mannequin-like Lovebot, Lenore. He's surrounded by screens, computers, feeds, machinery, all that looks both ultra-modern and long neglected. All of the screens play different images. It's a mediaverse. Interior bridge. As he watches the security feed of River's fight, his image becomes a vid screen. He's addressing Wash, Mal, and Zoe. We intercut between the two spaces.
Oh, this is good. He's beating up all the burly men and I'm having a catharsis. It's happening right now. You guys always bring me the very best violence. You think you're in a hot place? Wash? Mr. Universe.
That's what we're looking to learn. Is there any follow-up, a news wave?
There is no news. There's the truth of the signal. What I see, and there's the puppet theater, the parliament's gestures voiced on the somnambulant public. Monkey taught to say the word monkey, lead story on 32 planets. But the slum riots on Hera, not a single
What about this? This make the puppet theater?
No, sir. And no law force flags either. I had to go into security feed directly.
You can do that?
Can't stop the signal, Mel. Everything goes somewhere and I go everywhere. Security feeds are traipsed to access and I wasn't the first one in. This has prints on it. Oh, look at her go! Everyone is getting bruises and contusions! Contusions!
Somebody else has been fed this. Doesn't like me too well.
Zoe, you sultry minx, stop falling in love with me. You're just gonna embarrass yourself. I have a commitment to my Lovebot. It was a very beautiful ceremony. Lenore wrote her own vows. I cried like a baby, a hungry, angry baby. And she fell asleep, which she would be sleepy.
Can you go back, see if anybody spoke with her before she acted up, made any kind of contact with her?
Mr. Universe works the screen. The image rewinds and stops on River coming up to it, looking at it. She whispers the word, Miranda, and starts to move away.
Miranda? Go back further.
No. Mm-mm.
Pulls another screen close, starts working at 1, matching time codes. He pulls up the commercial.
Please?
Mr. Universe has a third screen showing the commercial as well. It starts breaking down bursts of non-matrixy code showing through. As he does so,
Friends and potential lovers, I have good news, and I have the other kind. Good is, you're very smart. Someone is talking to her.
The Odie bar?
Subliminal message, Broadway trigger.
I've been seeing this code pop up all over the last few weeks, and I cannot crack it. It's Alliance and it's high military, so here then is the bad. Someone has gone to enormous trouble to find your little friend, and found her they have.
Now Zoe and Wash look at each other.
Do you all know what it is you're carrying?
Interior storage locker, night. River stares at us and passes as the camera pulls away from her to reveal Simon, who's cleaning blood off of her face.
They're afraid of me.
I'm sorry.
They should be. What I will show them. Oh, God.
She starts tearing up, breathing faster. Simon runs his hands through her hair.
It's okay. It's okay.
Show me off like a dog old man covered in blood. It never touches them, and they're drowning in it. So much loss. I don't know what I'm saying. I never know what I'm saying.
You said something. When you were triggered, do you remember the captain saw you say something on the feed?
Miranda.
Miranda?
Ask her. She'll show you all.
Show us what? Who's Miranda? Am I talking to Miranda now?
I'm not a multiple Dumbo.
No, right. But I think somehow when they triggered you, it brought this up, this memory.
It is mine, the memory. I didn't bring it and shouldn't have to carry it. It isn't mine. Don't make me sleep again.
I won't.
Put a bullet to me. Bullet in my brain. Squish.
Don't say that. No, not ever. We'll get through this.
She reaches out and touches his face affectionately.
Things are going to get so much worse.
Well, the captain hasn't tossed us in the airlock, so I'd say we're...
He has to see, more than anyone, he has to see what he doesn't want to.
What will Miranda show us?
Death.
Whose death?
And she starts laughing, quietly at first, then louder, then almost uncontrollably, screaming in his face.
Everybody's.
Smash cut to black silence. Interior cave, day. It's pitch black in here, till Serenity's lights throw a hard relief on the rocky wall. She flies in after, slow and steady, revealing herself to be in a huge mine shaft.
Lord, I am walking your way.
Angle, the ramp lowers to reveal Shepherd Book, a working class preacher and former crew member. He smiles as they come out to meet him.
Let me in, for my feet are sore, my clothes are ragged.
Exterior mining camp day. We see the camp, a few shacks and a working mine as our group come down to it, greeted by a few miners, including an 8-year-old boy that rushes to Kaylee. Angle on a cannon mounted at the edge of town. The guy manning it sees them arrive, also goes to greet them. Interior community kitchen, night. We see a gang sitting and eating, comfortable, even laughing a bit. Jayne presents book with a couple of cigars. Kaylee hoists the boy on her lap.
Look in my eyes, Lord, and my sins will play out on them as a screen. Read them all.
Exterior mining camp, night. Mal approaches book on the edge of the rise overlooking town. Mal has a bowl of chopsticks and book is finishing. Can you hold on just a second? Can we pause?
Forgive what you can and send me on my path. I will walk on until you bid me rest.
Hope that ain't for me, Shepard.
It's prayer for the dead.
I really hope it ain't for me.
It's for the men River might have killed in that bar.
Weren't River that did that, you know that. Somebody decided her brain was another piece of property to take and fenced it right up.
You got a plan?
Hiding in a plan?
It'll do you for a spell, and the folks here will be glad of the extra coin.
But they'll be coming. Alliance is after this girl with a powerful will. I'll let you hear the trump of their boots any moment.
You won't. This isn't a palms-up military run, Mal. No reports, broad waves, no warrants. Much as they want her hid. That means closed file. It means an operative, which is trouble you've not known.
Could have left her there.
Interior storage locker night. As he continues, we see an image of him watching over the sleeping girl, his mind racing.
I had an out. Hell, I had every reason in the verse to leave her lay and haul anchor.
Not your way, Mal.
I have a way? Is that better than a plan?
You can play the thug all you want, but there's more to you than you're ever like to fess.
Just like to think it's because my eyes is all sorrowful and pretty.
Only one thing is going to walk you through this, Mal. Belief.
Sermons make me sleepy, Shepard. I ain't looking for help from on high. It's a long wait for a train don't come.
When I talk about belief, why do you always assume I'm talking about God? They'll come at you sideways.
As he continues, we see exterior companion training house day. Inara stands waiting, her back to us, in front of the very vista we first saw before. The operative comes slowly up the staircase, stands before her.
It's how they think. Sideways. It's how they move. Sidle up and smile. Hit you where you're weak. Sort of man they're like to send believes hard. Kills and never asks why.
It's interesting to me how much you seem to know about that world.
I wasn't born a shepherd, Mal.
Tell me about that sometime.
No, I don't.
He
Sideways.
walks away, offering this. Sorry. Mal watches him go, thinking. Exterior classroom day. The teacher from the very beginning is standing in front of River, whose desktop screen depicts a single dark planet.
River?
8-year-old River is working away, not paying attention.
River, you look tired. I think everyone's a little tired by now. Why don't we all lie down?
River looks up, scared. All the other children wordlessly get up from their seats and lie on the floor next to them.
A little peace and quiet will make everything better.
She starts to lie down herself, right on the grass.
No.
River, do as you're told. It's going to be fine. Lie down.
No.
Interior storage locker night. River starts awake. Interior Mal's room. Mal does too, shirtless on his bunk.
Yeah, you are.
Hey, Mal, you up? Got a wave. I'm gonna bounce it out to you.
He pops up, turns the screen as the white noise becomes.
Inara.
Reverse on Inara and Mel's screen. We see her from about chest level up. She presumably sees the same. Mal, is this a bad time?
Good as any.
Please tell me you're wearing pants.
Naked as the day I come crying. How's your world?
Cold. It's autumn here.
Still at the training house?
Right where you left me.
I remember it was nice enough.
Is that that? Is it that? What about you?
Still flying. So what occasions the wave? Not to see you ain't. Well, you certainly look fine.
Interior bridge, continuous. Zoe and Wash are secretly watching both Mal and Inara on two different screens, smiling at their formal shyness. Jayne enters, wondering what's up. Interior Mal's room continuous. Oh, thank you. I guess we have something of a problem here with locals. I thought maybe...
You could use a gun hand.
I'm hoping not. But if you're close at all, the crew could take your ease here a while. There'd be payment.
Payment's never not a factor. I could send out the crew. This pot like to boil over soon.
Soon. Not right away.
Well, would be. I mean, I would like to. Kaylee's been missing you something fierce.
Interior bridge continuous. There's a general groan among the audience, which now includes Kaylee as well.
Oh, they're so pathetic.
Boo!
I miss her too. I even miss my shuttle occasionally.
Yeah, you left it. Got some of your stuff in a trunk. Never did get a chance to drop it off.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't look through the stuff. It's just sundries, I expect. Well, it's kind of late where I'm at. I'll send a wave as soon as I can.
Thank you. She disappears, and Mal thinks for a moment. Interior bridge, moments later, Mal comes up in, buttoning his shirt.
Inara, nice to see her again.
So, trap,
Trap.
we going in?
Maybe a few hours out.
Yeah, but remember the part where it's a trap.
Yeah. If that's the case, then Inara's already caught in it. She wouldn't set us up willing. Might be we got a shot at seeing who's turning these wheels. We go in.
How can you be sure Inara won't just want to see you? Sometimes people have feelings. I'm referring here to people.
Y'all were watching, I take it?
Yeah.
You see us fight?
No.
Trap.
Exterior Serenity, day. The ship moves gracefully over the mountains. Interior bridge, continuous.
Yeah, we're about 70 miles from the training house. Nobody on radar. If the Alliance is out there, laying low.
They're about. Find us a home. I'll take the shuttle in closer. Zoe, ship is yours.
Starts out.
Now remember, if anything happens to me, or you don't hear from me within the hour, you take the ship, and you come and you rescue me.
What? You risk my ship?
I mean it. It's cold out there. I don't want to get left.
Exterior Serenity, day. She is nestled in a gorge, overhanging rocks, all but burying her from view. The shuttle on the right lifts off from the side of the ship and glides off, keeping low. Exterior companion training house, day. A line of young trainees files by in robes and red shawls pulled over their heads. One trainee, a good deal larger than the others. Interior, Inara's room later, she's kneeling in front of a statue of Buddha, lighting a few incense sticks. A room is sparsely lush, not as opulent as the shuttle where she entertained men, but still beautifully furnished and draped. A lace curtain hangs in front of the light, casting its pattern in a shadow over everything, including the rather large figure in a red shawl who kneels beside Inara.
Dear Buddha, please send me a pony, a plastic rocket, and...
Ow! What are you doing here?
Well, you invited me.
I thought for a second you'd be stupid enough to come.
Well, that makes you kind of a tease, doesn't it?
You knew my invitation wasn't on the level.
Which led me to the conclusion that you must be in some trouble.
Fine, I'm giddy.
For a woman schooled in telling men what they want to hear, you ain't much of a liar.
Now you cannot handle this man.
I have to say, I'm impressed that you would come for her yourself, and that you would make it this far in that outfit.
I can be graceful when I need to.
I've no doubt.
Mal sheds his shawl and robe. Inara kneels at the altar, picks out another incense stick.
What are you doing?
I'm praying for you, Mal.
That's very thoughtful, but I mean it when I say you're not in any danger.
Speak your piece.
I think you're beginning to understand how dangerous River Tam is.
She's a mite unpredictable. Mood swings of a sort.
It's worse than you know.
It usually is.
That girl will rain destruction down on you and your ship. She's an albatross, Captain.
Well, I remember it. Albatross was a ship's good luck till some idiot killed it. Yes, I've read a poem, Try Not to Faint.
The operative moves further into the room. Whenever he moves, Mal counters.
I've seen your war record. I know how you must feel about the Alliance.
You really don't.
Fair to say. But I have to hope you understand you can't beat us.
I don't need to beat you. I just want to go my way.
And you can do that once you let me take the girl back home. Give me the opportunity to help you.
All I got to do is let you take one more thing away from me. So I've had a lot of things taken in my time. And it may just be that this is one too many.
This psychotic, potentially murderous girl who can't have the slightest awareness of your protection. This is where you draw the line.
Well, I'm a whimsical soul.
There's a number of lives that hang in the balance here. Lives under your care. Are they as whimsical as yourself?
I got no notion of being heroical at all. Any more than I think you're really just a harmless bureaucrat come to help me out. You move like a killer.
The operative is stopped by this. Unhappily, he continues.
I have a warship in deep orbit, Captain. We locked onto Serenity's pulse beacon the moment you hit Atmo. I can speak word and send a missile to that exact location inside of 3 minutes.
Mal pulls a small device, clipped wire sticking out all around it, and tosses it to the operative.
You do that. Best make peace with your dear and fluffy lord.
Pulse beacon.
Advice from an old tracker. You want to find someone? Use your eyes.
How long do you think you can really run from us?
Oh, a jackrabbit me. Besides, I never credited the Alliance with an overabundance of brains. You're the best they got.
Captain Reynolds, I should tell you so that you don't waste your time. You can't make me angry.
Oh, please, spend an hour with him. Mal smiles and glares at Inara, mouthing, hey.
I need her, Captain. River is my purpose, and I will gather her to me. The brother as well. Whatever else happens is incidental in the greater scheme.
Why is it that the greater scheme always makes everything not that great?
I want to resolve this like civilized men. I'm not threatening you. I'm unarmed.
Great.
He draws and shoots the operative in the chest. The operative goes down as Mal grabs Inara and moves for the doorway. The operative is on him in a second, chokehold from behind.
I am, of course, wearing full body armor. I'm not a moron.
He tosses Mal hard against the wall, spinning and blocking a blow from Inara. She's clearly trained in the martial arts, but he flat heels her to the ground within seconds. Mal is going for his gun again, turning, and the operative kicks him in the face, sends him back, gun flying. Mal to his feet, and they square off. Mal breathing hard, nose dripping blood. The operative perfectly poised, waiting.
No backup?
No backup? We're making an awful ruckus.
They'll come when they're needed.
I'd start whistling.
Captain, what do you think is going to happen here?
They come at each other. The operative is much better trained. He's fluid. His blows are sparse and deadly. Mal is more bluster and determination, and the operative's precision is wearing Mal down. Mal punches wild. The operative counters with a spin kick to the head that sends Mal to the ground, not far from Inara, breathing hard. He tries to rise again painfully, but Inara places her hand on his arm. The operative goes to his briefcase by the door and pulls out his sword. His face has taken on that remote kind of fascination as he looks at it.
Nothing here is what it seems.
I know.
He's not the plucky hero. The Alliance isn't some evil empire. This isn't the Grand Arena.
And that's not incense. He turns to look. The incense stick burns away, rather like a fuse, and flashes in an explosion of light and sound. It's a flash bomb. The operative sails back to everything goes smoky white, and the sound dies to a tiny buzz. The operative tries to get his bearings, and 4 armored soldiers are in his face, asking him for orders. Mal and Inara are gone. He motions for the men to follow him.
Just a flash bomb. Go, go.
Interior companion training house, continuing. Inara leads Mal, who is reholstering his gun, down some steps and along a corridor. The sound is still tinny and weird.
I had him.
What?
I think that I was winning.
God. Exterior side of the mountain by Mal's shuttle. Mal and Inara move quickly down the mountain. They look to see that Mal's shuttle has 4 Alliance guards waiting by it. Mal ducks back out of sight, pulls a fancy-looking grenade out of his pocket, pops the top, and hurls it over the foursome. Close on the grenade, as a series of bars of lights go out one by one, counting down. Grenade! Everyone dives for cover. The moment they do, Mal and Inara race into the shuttle. Mal sweeping up the grenade just as the last light goes out, and nothing happens. One soldier turns to look at Mal, who shoots him back down as the door shuts on him and Inara. Interior shuttle, Inara pushes into the pilot's seat. Hang on to something.
Are you sure you remember how to?
He nearly falls over as exterior mountain range. The shuttle shoots straight up, spinning and heading out. Interior shuttle continuing. Inara stares straight ahead, relaxing her grip on the controls. Mal is gone. Told you to hang on.
Fine.
Superior space later. We are below Serenity as her bay doors are closing. 6 little objects floating out of her belly like a robe. These objects are roughly the size of pony cakes and clearly homemade, parts welded together almost haphazardly. They all spark silently to life and shoot off in 6 different directions as Serenity herself fires up her firefly effect and burns away from us. Interior companion training house day. The operative sips tea and rubs his temple.
Forget the pulse beacon. There has to be another way to track the ship. Get a read on the NavSat. It's a registered transport. You must be able to locate it.
Sir?
Have you found a NavSat trajectory?
Sir, we found 7.
Operative looks more and more unhappy.
Does he think this is a game?
Exterior classroom day. The teacher and students sleep as River, as we saw her in the institute, older, with blood seeping from the needle holes in her head, makes her way through them. Slowly, she walks to the floating lecture screen. On it is the solar system, glowing lines connecting all the stars and planets. She becomes wide-eyed, breathing hard as she pushes into one system, one planet. She looks over to one side of the tent, and we see interior lab continuous. Her POV of the lab. There stand some 5 older men in formal dress. They stare at her, impassive. We see flashes of corpses lying in houses in the city streets and Reaver's screaming face. Interior storage locker day. And River awakens. A moment to get her bearings, and then her eyes narrow with intent. We have every reason to be afraid. Interior passenger dorm.
Why? Cause this guy beat up Mal. That ain't so hard.
Didn't beat me up. It's Mal,
Mal.
Jayne.
And it's because he's a believer. Interior operative ship dark cabin. Inara continues. We see Fanty and Mingo tied to chairs. Lights goes out into the bruised faces as an operative enters. He's intelligent, methodical, and devout in his belief that killing River is the right thing to do. Back in the passenger dorm, I honestly think the only reason we haven't been blown out of the air is he needs to see her.
Needs to see her. Why?
Uncertain. I would say to be sure of the kill, but I just know he'll kill us all to get to her.
So no hope of a reward, huh?
Mention a deal of any kind.
Give the 2 of them up or go my way.
Which he was all ready to do not a day ago. What went sour?
Cutting them loose ain't the same as handing them over.
That's so, because the corpses I'm about to become is having trouble telling the difference.
Did he say anything about Miranda?
What is that?
Don't know who or what, but it's on River's mind. Conjurer might be the reason he's after her.
Maybe it was some kind of threat to the Alliance?
Do we care? Are we caring about that?
You dumbass hogs. The only people she's a threat to is us on this boat.
Interior storage locker. River is near the ceiling, keeping herself up in a split again, feet against the walls. There's a wire mesh covering the light. She has been part of it and working inside the lock of her shackles. Back in the passenger dorm.
Look, we get back to Haven in a few hours' time.
Hiding under the shepherd's skirts. That's a manful scheme.
Look, you want to run this ship?
Yes!
But you can't.
Do a damn sight better job, you green us slashed over a couple of strays. No offense, Doc. I think it's notable as a grape the way you look to River, but she ain't my sister, and she ain't your crew. Oh, and neither is she exactly helpless, so where's it right we gotta lay down our lives for her, which is who you steered us toward?
Look, I didn't start this.
No, the Alliance starts the war, and then you volunteer. Battle of Serenity Mall. Besides, Zoe here, how many? I'm talking at you. How many men in your platoon came out of there alive?
Mal stares at him.
You want to leave this room.
You're damn right I do.
He stalks upstairs. There's a quiet moment. This isn't the war, Mal.
Are you telling me that because you think I don't?
You came into the training house looking for a fight.
I came looking for you.
I just want to know who I'm dealing with. I've seen too many versions of you to be sure.
I start fighting a war, I guarantee you'll see something new.
Mal walks out by the cargo bay, Inara following. Over.
We'll get off. River and I will get off at Haven and find some.
Nobody's saying that.
Nobody besides Jayne is saying that.
Interior cargo bay continuing. Inara tries to catch up. Mal.
Look, I got no rudder. Wind blows northerly, I go north. That's who I am. And maybe that had a man to lead, but they have to follow. So you want to tear me down? You do it inside your own mind.
I'm not trying to tear you down.
You fog things up. You always have. You spin me about. Wish like hell you was elsewhere.
I was. Interior dining room continuous. Jayne is looking at the storage locker. A beat.
Enough of this nonsense.
He moves to the aft hall, shuts and locks the door, goes back to the locker and starts to unlock it, pulling his gun.
No trouble now, little crazy person. We're going for a nice shuttle ride.
He opens the door and she is on him. In an instant, whip below to the throat, to the nose. He fires wildly as she jumps on him, wraps her arms around his neck and topples him back. Interior aft hall moments later. The crew enters, drawn by the shots. Malice first, can't open the door, looks in to see an unconscious Jayne.
The other way. Find her and do not engage.
Everyone piles out the other way. Simon remains to look in the window. Angle on Simon's POV. There's Jayne not moving, and River pops up right in front of us. He starts and then waits. She opens the door.
Gonna be okay.
She elbows his throat viciously. He drops to his knees, shocked and gasping. As she spin kicks him to the ground, he doesn't move. She looks at him a moment and takes off. Interior cargo bay moments later. Malice throwing his shoulder against the bolted door to the upstairs. He gives up, looking around.
She sealed off the bridge. I do not like her there.
Captain!
She tosses him a bolt remover and starts pulling a bolt out of the panel wall and tells Zoe.
Check the shuttles. She could have snuck in.
He pops the panel off and starts wriggling among the wires. Interior foredeck hall bridge. Later, a floor panel hinges open. Mal pulling himself up. He moves quietly to the bridge, gun drawn. He enters to find River frantically punching up coordinates on a big vortex screen. She's pulled out by the co-pilot's seat. She whips Jayne's gun at his face, never looking at him. A moment, Mal lowers his own gun.
With the government man, he says you're a danger to us. Not worth helping. Is he right? Are you anything but a weapon? I've staked my crew's life on the theory that you're a person, actual and whole. And if I'm wrong, you'd best shoot me now. Or we could talk more.
Wow. Miranda.
It's a planet. It's a planet, not a planet, Jesus Christ. Matches one of her from her dream. Interior bridge later. Everyone has gathered. Washes pilotly now as they are in the atmosphere. River is by Simon. She moves restlessly, upset.
How can there be a whole planet called Miranda and none of us knew that?
Because there ain't one. It's a black rock, uninhabitable. Terraforming didn't hold them or some such. A few settlers died.
I had to show them. I didn't know if you were going to make me sleep.
Could have asked.
Wait, a tick, yeah. Some 10 years back before the war, there was call for workers to settle on Miranda. My daddy talked about going. I should have recalled.
There's nothing about it on the cortex. History, astronomy, it's just not there.
The half of writing history is hiding the truth. Something on this rock the Alliance doesn't want known.
That's right at the edge of the Burnham quadrant, right? Furthest planet out? It's not that far from here.
Whoa, no.
It's a bad notion.
Honey,
I got it, baby.
show them the bad.
She hits some commands on the screen, pulls back to reveal a couple of other planets named Miranda.
This is us, see? And then here's Miranda. Along here, this dead space in between, that's Reaver territory.
You just float out there, sending out raiding parties.
Maybe 100 ships and more every year. You go through that, you're signing up to be a banquet.
So I'm on board with the run and hide scenario, and we're just about.
He looks at his monitors and looks ahead.
Wait.
Exterior mining camp day. The ship swings around a mountain to come into view of the camp. It's a world of fire. Every building burns, some blown right apart, bodies litter the scene, not one of them moving. There's a grounded Alliance ship not far from the cannon that shot it down. Interior bridge continues. We see Mal's face as the sight hits him like a gut punch. Exterior mining camp moments later, the crew points out as the ramp lowers, going off in all directions, calling out to people. Kaylee heads for the burning church.
Shepherd? Shepherd Book?
She stops, looking at the ground by the steeple. There's a body on the ground, face down. The child she played with at dinner. Kaylee stares, first uncomprehending. Angelon Mal, moving in the other direction, approaches the cannon. Jayne behind him. He stops and sees Book laying by the cannon, torn up badly from the waist down.
Get the dock.
He moves to Shepherd and grabs his searching hand.
Shepherd, don't move.
Won't go far.
Shouldn't have been you. I'm so sorry. They should have hit us. They should have hit me.
That crossed my mind. I shot him down.
I seen.
I killed the ship. They killed us. Not very Christian of me.
Did what's right.
Coming from you, that means almost nothing. I'm long gone.
Doc will bring you around. I'd like to be bored by many more sermons before you slip. Don't move.
Can't order me around, boy. I'm not one of your crew.
Yes, you are.
Book coughs up blood, grabbing Mal, urgent, almost angry.
You. It's on you now. All this death. This shit. You have to find a course. This can't mean nothing. River, you have to.
Come on, keep it up.
Book grabs Mal's face, talks as though he's replying to something.
I don't care what you believe. Just believe it. Whatever you have to.
His breathing becomes labored, hitched, stopped. His hand slips away, his blood leaving a distinct print on Mal's face. Jayne and Simon run up, slowing down, going to the shepherd, but entirely unaware, he's dead. Zoe and Wash join them as Jayne looks around him, Mal still fixed on Book.
How come they ain't waiting? How do they know we was coming? How come they only sent one?
Zoe realizes the answer, turns to Wash.
Get on the cortex. Wave the Sanchez brothers, Li Shen, anyone who's ever sheltered us after a heist. Tell them to get out now.
Smash cut to interior bridge later, silence. Every cortex screen is on, each looking into different plays. Everyone shows fire, destruction, or the snow of an interrupted signal. Mal stands alone amidst the screens, saying nothing. After a long moment, all the screens hitch, the images replaced by identical images of the operative. He looks solemn.
I'm sorry, but I cannot let you hide, and I cannot let you run. Things become extreme, and we wish for another way.
Don't talk at me like a righteous man. You're a killer of children.
When God wanted Pharaoh to release his people from bondage, you know the story?
He didn't ask. He sent his plague down upon Egypt. That's me, Captain. The path to peace is paved with corpses. It's always been so.
So me and mine gotta lie down and die so you can live in your better world?
I'm not going to live there. How could you think? There's no place for me there, any more than there is for you. Malcolm, I'm a monster. What I do is evil. I've no illusions about it, but it must be done.
Why? Do you know why?
It's not my place to ask.
You will never see River Tam, I'm telling you this.
Maybe not, but you'll keep her close now. And when I blow Serenity out of the air, this will be ended. You're so terribly out of your depth, Captain. Your old boat can't take the pressure.
She ain't buckled yet. And the only reason you're talking such a lot is you can't get a fix on us.
Yes, your Scrambler's code is too old for our seekers. You love that, yes? The small triumph over modernity. You really are the noble savage.
Nobody ever calls me noble.
But that's what's going to kill you, Malcolm. Nobility. It confuses your text, which is self-interest and sin.
The only man I know who still believed in sin just died by your hand.
What do you believe in?
Not a solitary thing.
If that were true, you'd be nothing more than a reaver. But then, maybe you're not that far from.
Sorry, I was muted. Mal flicks the screen and switch and every screen goes dark. Exterior mining camp moments later. Mal comes strutting out where the crew have been gathering bodies, laying blankets over them.
Get those bodies together.
Got time for grave digging?
So you, Simon, are going to rope them together. 5 or 6 of them. We're going to lay them out on the nose of the ship.
Are you insane?
What do you mean, the bodies?
Haley, I need you to muck up the reactor core, just enough to leave a trail and make it read like we're flying without containment, but not enough to fry us.
These people are friends.
Kaylee, you got a day's work to do and 2 hours to do it. Jayne, you and Wash hoist up that cannon mount. Goes right on top. Piece 2 of the other ships, stick it on. Any place you can tear hull without inner breach, you do that too. I don't need paint. I don't need red paint.
To be foot on the Bahu woman.
Sir, do you really mean to turn our home into an abomination so we can make a suicidal attempt at passing through Reaver space?
I mean to live. I mean for us to live. The Alliance won't have that. So we go where they won't follow.
God's balls, there's no way we're going out there.
And everybody, save River, is talking all at once.
What's the point of living if you sink to the level of a savage?
Nothing about this plan that isn't horrific.
And in the middle of it, Mal pushes his gun. Jayne, the most something in his face, steps back, hand on his.
This is how it works. Anybody that doesn't want to fly with me anymore, this is your point of harbor. There's a lot of fine ways to die. I'm not waiting for the Alliance to choose mine.
He walks through the group towards the smashed cockpit of the Alliance fighter. Struggling to get out is the badly wounded pilot. He sees Mal coming and raises his hands in surrender. Mal shoots him in the head and turns back.
I mean to confound these killers. Take my shot by getting to Miranda. Maybe find out what all I'm. That's my theme now. So, I hear word at any of you that ain't helping me out or taking your leave, I will fucking shoot you.
He grabs a body, drops it at Zoe's feet, and heads towards the ship.
Get to work.
Exterior space night. Close on the bodies, they are burned. As they burn, flames passing over them and suddenly flickering out as dark falls. They are patches of leathered flesh stretched over bone, monsters screaming soundlessly in the nothing of space. We arm past into the windows of the bridge, looking in at Mal, watching with Zoe behind Wash at the helm. As we pull back out to see the whole of Serenity for the first time, it's hardly recognizable. Charred corpses on the nose, cannon atop the spacesuited corpse, draped within long scars, welded on parts and war paint. The trail of green light burns without sporadic bursts of vapor. It looks, for all the world, like a reaver ship. Interior cargo bay continuous. Mal comes down the stairs to the catwalk. He hesitates and steps into the shuttle. The shuttle, it's dark in there. Mal stands with his back to the door, no light on his face, shaking, not crying, but overcome. Mal. He looks up. She's in the corner looking through that trunk of hers, hands on a long oilcloth wrapped in something.
Didn't see you.
Figured that.
Anything of use in there?
Maybe. She puts down and crosses the bed and he sits by her.
You don't have to stay in the shuttle, you know. There's empty rooms if you want to sleep a while.
You think anyone's set to sleep? Simon's portioning out overdoses of morphine just in case.
Cheerful fellow. Do you really miss this place?
Sometimes. Not so much right now. A beat. He doesn't look at her when he asks.
Why did you leave?
Why didn't you ask me not to?
I better go check on the crew. See how the inevitable mutiny is coming along.
And they both want to say more, but they don't. He goes. Exterior space night. Serenity flies. Silent. Interior foredeck hall. Bridge night. A group make their way towards the bridge. They close enough to get the view out of the window, are looking freaked. Those already on the bridge are stock still. Pressed up against the glass of the window is river, just staring. Exterior space. Reverse to sea, an armada. The black sky is filled with what must be 90 ships in a vague cluster. Serenity breaks frame and heads towards them. Most of them hang still in the air. Some move swimmingly about, some turn gentle drifts as though looking around. Interior bridge continuing. They all wait, tensed up as they approach the armada. Exterior space continuing. And arrive moving slowly through the ranks of ships. Serenity passes a large, bizarrely shaped ship as it turns, though watching her, but it lets her pass. Another minute, and Serenity is through the armada, headed for the small planet just beyond. Interior, the operative ship. Later, the operative stares blankly at the ensign.
Define disappeared.
The ensign just looks uncomfortable. Interior Serenity bridge. Later, Kaylee, Simon, and River left the bridge. Clouds fog the windows, so nothing below is visible.
The reading I'm getting says normal. Oceans, land masses, no tectonic instability or radiation.
But no power either.
Nothing at all?
Wait, something might be a beacon, but it's awful weak.
Find it.
Exterior Serenity Day. As she touches down, filling the frame. After a moment, Mal, Zoe, and Jayne emerge from the airlock in full suits, armed. Zoe reads a handheld scanner.
Gravity's Earth norm.
O2 levels check. Pressure. If there's anything wrong with the scanner, it ain't reading it.
Mal pulls off his helmet, breathes, and looking around him.
Something sure as hell ain't right.
Wider angle. They're in a city. Gleaming metal spread out for miles in every direction. Portions decimated by fires, long since cold. Others overgrown with weeds, but mostly intact. But silent, as if trapped in amber.
This ain't no little settlement.
Flew over at least a dozen cities just as big. Why didn't we hear about this?
Beacons up ahead.
Exterior City Day. Out of their suits now, Mal, Zoe, and Jayne take point as the entire crew walks along the street, looking about them.
Oh.
She moves rapidly, gun out too. Angle on a skeleton, face down on the ground, clothes tattered. She examines it as Mal approaches, waving the others back.
No entry wound, fractures.
Poison?
Got another one.
Angle, Jayne is by a downed hovercraft. Inside her, those are three skeletons, 2 grown-ups and a small child, clothes in better condition. And again, no sign of violence.
They's all just sitting, didn't crash.
Angle, River's quietly becoming more and more upset. Clothes on, Kaylee walks in front of an office building, staying away from the cars as she hears.
Couple more here.
Kaylee takes another step, and the corpse of a man is pressed up against the glass wall right behind her. Mouth open, skin dead blue, terribly skinny. A thing to haunt.
Haley, come this way. Come here. Don't.
But she looks. Steps back, horrified, as the others approach. It's an office. About half the employees are there, in chairs on the ground, all on the same stage as the first fellows. We see angles of the corpses as the gang evaluates.
How come they're preserved?
Place must have gone hermetic when the power blew. It sealed them.
What are they doing? What's everyone doing?
There's no discoloration. Nobody's doubled over or showing signs of pain.
There's gases that kill painless, right?
They didn't fall down. None of them. They just laid down.
More than anything, looks like starvation.
Anyone want to bet there's plenty of food around?
They just lay down. They notice River now in the middle of the street. Kneeling, she drops to her knees, clutching her head. As she speaks, as she sees flashes of bodies in the homes, in piles in the entire world, gently dead.
Merciful God, please take me away. Make them stop. They're everywhere, every city, every house, every room. They're inside me. I can hear them all that they're saying. Nothing. Get up, please get them up. I will close my ears and my heart, and I will be stone. Please, God, make me a stone.
You're starting to damage my calm.
Jayne?
She's right. Everybody's dead. This whole world is dead for no reason.
Let's go to the beach.
Exterior landing strip, day. It's small. Landing is easier in cities with flying vehicles. At the end of a short runway, tipped and damaged, is an Alliance research vessel. The gang makes its way towards it. Interior research vessel, day. It's a mess. Doors pried open, signs of violence, but no bodies. The gang walks through it, looking around. River pulls away from Simon, suddenly determined. She approaches a console. Sorry, I just lost my place. And a small cylindrical object. She turns it slightly. A hologram squawks to life amidst them all. First, we see images that resemble flashes from River's mind. Corpses everywhere. We hear then, see Dr. Caron standing exactly where she was when she recorded this message. As she speaks, we see angles of everyone watching, taking it in, as River silently mouths every word.
Just a few of the images we've recorded, and you can see it isn't what we thought. There's been no war here, no terraforming event. The environment is stable. It's the Pax. The G32 Paxilon hydrochlorate that we added to the air processors. It works. It was supposed to calm the population, weed out aggression, make it peaceful. It worked. People here stopped fighting. And then they stopped everything else. They stopped going to work, stopped breeding, talking, eating. There's 30 million people here, and they all just let themselves die. They didn't even kill themselves. They just most starved. When they stopped working the power grids, there were overloads, fires. People burned to death sitting in their chairs, just sitting.
There's a loud bang somewhere behind her. She starts and gathers herself.
I have to be quick. There was no one working the receptors when we landed, so we hit pretty hard. We can't leave. We can't take any of the local transports because...
Bang again.
There are people. They're not people. About a 0.1% of the population had the opposite reaction to the Pax. Their aggressor response increased beyond madness. They've killed most of us. Not just killed, they've done things.
The Reavers, they made them.
I won't live to report this. And we haven't got power to. People have to know. We meant it for the best, to make people safer, to... God!
She whirls around, grabs a gun and fires, and aims the gun at her own head. But a reaver is on her, knocks the gun away, and bites her face. She screams continuously as the reaver tops her, biting her, tearing at her clothes and her skin.
Turn it off.
Wash does. Nobody's saying anything. Mal walks outside. It's to your research vessel. He takes a few unsteady steps away from the vessel. Inara appears behind him, follows. She holds a hand out behind him, seemingly to make her stop. But then he grabs her shoulder, holds her for support. She puts her hand over his.
I've seen so much death. I found fields carpeted with bodies, friends and enemies. I've seen men and women blown to messages no further from me than you.
Oh.
Every single one of those people died on their feet, fighting. Hell, running away, doing something to get through. This is...
Mel, I need your help with this. I need you to help me because I can't. He looks at her, folds her into his arms, brings her face to his, not kissing but touching, pressing into each other with the urgency of pulsing necessary life. To your research vessel, continuous. River falls to her knees, vomiting, and Simon goes to her, puts his hand on her back, and lets her write it out.
River.
I'm all right.
She looks at him, wet eyes full of clarity.
I'm all right.
Wash pulls the recording cylinder out of the console. Interior Serenity dining room night. Cylinder is on the table. Mal stands at the head looking at his crew.
Fort is maybe 12 years old. Parliament buried it and stayed buried till River dug it up. This is what we feared she knew. And they were right to fear. There's a universe of folk out there that are going to know it too. They're going to see it. Somebody has to speak for these people. You all got on this boat for different reasons, but you all come to the same place. So now I'm asking more of you than I have before. Maybe all. As sure as I know anything, I know this. They will try again. Maybe on another world, maybe on this very ground swept clean. A year from now, 10, they'll swing back to the belief they can make people better. And I do not hold to that. So no more running. I aim to misbehave.
My grandma always told me if you can't do something smart, do something right.
By way of emphasis, he loudly cocks his big ash rifle. Mel takes in the fact that Jayne has spoken for them all.
The same grandmother told you where the evil dwarf spirit living in your well?
He was a fun grandma.
Do we have a plan?
You, Mr. Universe. We haven't the equipment to Broadway this code, but he can put it on every screen for 30 worlds. He's pretty damn close, too.
Based on real trajectories, he reached optimum proximity just before sunset. If we make a direct one within the hour, we're only 67,332 miles out. At full burn, we'll reach him inside of 3 hours.
She doesn't notice the reactions to her sudden clarity. Still, she's somewhat in her own world.
We still got the Reavers and probably the alliance between us and him.
Fair bet the Alliance knows about Mr. Universe. You're going to see this coming.
No.
Takes a long moment, his jaw tightening imperceptibly.
They're not going to see this coming.
Close on. One of Serenity's jet engines as it fires up. Exterior city afternoon. Serenity is taking off, leaving the dead place behind. Interior Mr. Universe's HQ continuing. He's talking with Mal and Wash again, very animated.
It's no problem. Bring it on. Bring it on. Bring it on. From here to the eyes and ears of the verse. That's my motto. Or it might be if I start having a motto.
We won't be long.
You're going to get caught in the ion cloud. It'll be play merry hob with your radar, but pretty lights. And a few miles after, you'll be right in my orbit.
You let us know if anyone else comes at you, right?
Drop back wide to sea. The operative and 10 soldiers are in the room, visible to Mr. Universe, but not on the screen.
You'll be the first.
Close on the operative sword as he unsheathes it. Exterior space, night. We are amongst the Reaver Armada. Serenity plays slices quietly through the ships as we come around and see Miranda receding in the distance. Serenity drifts through the Armada and suddenly another ship fires up, running next to her. The two ships pace each other. Another vessel coming about, as though staring at Serenity, who comes closer and closer till frame. So we see a suited corpse draped on the cannon. It suddenly moves. It's Mal. He swings the cannon around and fires at the ship, pacing them. It blows, fragmenting into burning bits that spiral into other ships, causing two smaller ones to blow as well. Mal swings around and fires at another ship. Exterior satellite night. In close orbit waits the Alliance force, at least 50 strong, and clearly with high-tech firepower, move in on the operative ship in the middle of the cluster. Interior operative ship bridge continuing as the operative waits with the others.
I'm reading activity in the cloud.
Lock and fire on my command. You should have let me see her. We should have done this as men, not with fire.
Sir.
Exterior space continuous. It's the operative's POV, swirling ion cloud as Serenity breaks through and heads at us, fully revered out. Interior the operative ship's bridge continuous. He looks confused and smiles at the ruse. Hits the comm.
Vessel in range, lock on. Bastard's not even changing course.
Exterior space continuous. As Serenity get a bit close, 50 Reaver ships suddenly burst from the cloud, also heading straight at us. Interior the operative ship bridge continuing. The operative and everyone around him goes big-eyed.
That's not good.
Sir?
Target the Reavers. Target the Reavers. Target everyone. Somebody fire!
Interior space continuing. Serenity suddenly lifts hard to port until she's almost upside down. The Alliance ships fire, missing Serenity, but by tagging a few Reaver ships, none of whom is slowed down. Interior bridge continuous. Mal is back on the bridge as we look out at the upside down Alliance fleet. Missiles just passing us.
Too close to them to arm.
This is going to be very tight.
Hey, look, we're upside down.
Zoe and Mal shoot a look at Jayne.
I am a leaf on the wing. Watch how I soar.
Exterior space continuous. Serenity slips right under the operative ships and ducks and weaves between dozens more. The Reaver force hits the Alliance head on, and several ships do just that, smashing into bigger ships, kamikaze style, everything exploding. The fleet mobilizes, blasting Reaver ships circling around, and an air war begins, a frenzied, balletic ecstasy of destruction that the camera hurtles through in the ship's parts of ships fly past it. Angle on Serenity, she nearly makes it all the way through the Alliance fleet before a barreling chunk of debris, which is twice their size, forces them to come hard about and remain in the fray. Interior bridge continuous. Mal looks out at the chaos.
Come through.
They are suddenly jolted by a glancing blow and another ship, and Wash struggles to control her.
Okay, it's okay. I'm a leaf on the wind.
Can't hear you, Mal. Still can't hear you. You just lost you again.
Can't hear you, Mal.
What does that mean?
Yes. Exterior space continuing. Serenity makes her way past the carnage and heads down towards this tiny satellite moon. Interior operative ship corridor continuous. As the vessel shakes, clearly breached, the operative moves to a door marked Dart. He pulls his thumb to the panel and the door slides open to reveal a standing, almost form-fitting one-man cockpit. Into the exterior of the operative ship, the Dart disengages and bullets down towards the surface. As it moves from the operative ship, we see that the Reaver vessel is smashed into the main view shield and the ship is spinning, explosions popping silently all over it. Exterior Serenity, she continues down the metallic expanse of Mr. Universe's little moon complex sprawling below them. A moment after Serenity blows through the frame, so does the Reaver ship. It fires an electronic pulse in Serenity and sparks fly. Interior bridge continuous.
Right. I got no control.
Interior engine room continuing. Sparks and arcs of electricity are everywhere here. Kaylee jumps back as she is electrocuted. Simon runs in and pulls her out, slams the door shut on the erupting fires. Interior bridge.
Where's the backup? Where's the backup?
He and Wash are frantically flipping buttons. The ship whirs to a semblance of life.
Backup reads at 20%. Can you get us down?
I'm gonna have to glide her in.
Will that work?
As long as that landing strip is made of fluffy pillows.
Everyone on the upper deck, strap yourself to something.
Exterior landing strip. We can see it. A long strip which halfway along becomes a kind of a hanger. Serenity arcs at it comfortably fast. Interior bridge. Wash is fighting the stick with extreme concentration as Zoe pulls out a seat as well and straps in. Interior aft hall. Jayne, Simon, and Inara pull harnesses not unlike the Batman ride seats from the ceiling. Help others in. That's a really weird reference. The Batman ride. Interior exterior landing strip hanger. Continuous. And Serenity hits the ground. The landing gear folds and snaps under the weight. The ship keeps going, now inside the hangar, heading towards the entrance to the facility, slowing, fishtailing, and coming about to a full 180. And it goes beyond the ship and crashes down into the pedestrian area so that the nose is sticking back out from the runway, but the body of the ship is hidden from it. Interior bridge, there's a moment of quiet.
Relief from the wind. Watch.
A massive harpoon crashes through the windshield and impales him into the chair, the worst boat of this movie. It's as thick and round as the telephone pole. Wash has time to open his mouth in surprise before he's dead.
Wash?
She moves to him.
Wash, baby, no. Come on. You gotta move, baby, please.
Mal rips her way to the floor as another projectile slams through the window in the wall above them. Exterior landing strip. We see a ship that fired the harpoons has reavers start out of it. A second reaver vessel enters from the frame above and about to land next to it. Exterior Serenity. The cargo bay door opens, just a little door housed inside the ramp, and Jayne comes out with his biggest gun. He looks up toward the edge of the runway, but no reavers have arrived yet.
Go.
The crew piles out, all heavily bedecked with weapons.
Head inside.
Interior black room, inner hall. Moments later, a small double-sized doorway leads to the black room, which is the entrance proper to the facility. Mal hits a button, huge, thick glass doors from the sides into the top of the button, creating the effect of a square hole getting bigger. The hull itself is smaller than the black room, but still has the arrows on the ceiling that point to an elevator some 50 feet away.
Come on. Jayne, rear guard.
Zoe slows, looking around.
Sir, this is a good hold point.
We all stay together.
No. They have to come through here. They'll bottleneck, and we can thin them out. We get pushed back. There's the blast doors.
You can rig them so they won't reopen once they close.
You shut them and hide until...
No, we need to draw them till it's done. This is the place. We'll buy you the time.
Move those crates back there for cover and make sure they ain't filled with anything. Goes boom.
Wait, Walsh. Where's Walsh?
Nobody but River realized Wash wasn't there. Zoe is dead calm.
He ain't coming.
Everybody takes that in. Kaylee's eyes welling up.
Move the Gorham crates. Come on.
We hear savage screams from the hangar. They're approaching. Mal moves to open the door. Jayne beside him, angle on his POV. Reavers rush toward them. Turns to Jayne.
Tell me you brought him this time.
Jayne smiles grimly, tosses Mal a grenade as he pops his own fastballs at the Reavers. It explodes in their midst, smoke and man parts floating about. Mal rolls a shorter distance and slams the door shut. Angle on the grenade. It explodes, raining a bunch of equipment, part of a catwalk right in front of the door. In the back room, the door nearly buckles from the explosion. Everyone takes positions behind the crates. Zoe stands calmly, her back to the door, loading her sawed-off.
Zoe, you here?
Do the job, sir.
You hold. Hold till I'm back.
He takes off, passes Inara, the two of them holding a look for as long as they can, then he's in the elevator and gone. Jayne moves over to Zoe.
Captain's right. Can't be thinking on revenge if we're gonna get through this.
Really think any of us are going to get through this?
He looks at their army, a companion, a doctor, a mechanic, and a more than usually out of it River. A beat, and he looks back at Zoe with forlorn hope.
I might.
Interior Mr. Venus versus HQ. Moments later, the elevator stops and Mal makes his way to the island and screens and machines in the center of the space. The first thing he takes is that every Broadway port has been destroyed. The second, Mr. Universe is lying dead, eyes open, half draped, and is equally still Lovebot. Trail of blood slows as he crawled from his chair. Mal comes close. Nothing. He starts to move away again, and the Lovebot turns her head, her eyes focusing. With an audible whir, she speaks with a surprising, realistic expressiveness and a warped computery version of Mr. Universe's voice.
Mal.
Mal stops.
Guy killed me, Mal. He killed me with a sword. How weird is that? I got a short span here. They destroyed my equipment, but I have a backup unit. Bottom of the complex, right over the generator. Hard to get to. I know they missed it. They can't stop the signal, Mal. They can never stop the signal. Okay, this is painful. On many levels, I'm not.
She turns back, powering down, recording over. A beat, Mal takes off. Interior black room. Inara is on her knees, unwrapping an oilcloth we saw in the shuttle. River is in the corner, clutching her head.
I can't shut them up.
It's okay.
They're all made up of rage. I can't.
A bang as a body slams against the door.
Just stay low. I'm right here.
Jayne moves past Zoe, takes a position by her.
You picked a sweet bug of a time to go helpless on us.
Jayne and I take the first wave. Nobody shoots lest they get past our fire.
Simon moves to Kaylee, who is shaky as well, and bangs on the door. Continue.
Oh, I didn't plan on going out like this. I think we did right, but...
I never planned anything. I just wanted to keep River safe. Spent so much time with Serenity trying to find us a home I never realized I already had.
She looks at him with soft surprise.
My one true regret in all this is never being with you.
With me? You mean to say as sex?
I mean to say.
Kaylee snaps her cartridge home with a way more precision than we might expect from her. Takes steady aim at the door.
Oh, hell with this. I'm gonna live.
Simon looks at her a moment, then turns his attention to the door. Inara comes to the front frame with the contents of the oilcloth, a bow and an arrow, which she pulls back with focused grace, and the door starts to come off its hinges. Interior, Mr. Universe's HQ. A panel is being kicked from the ceiling, and the operative drops down, having clearly entered from a different location. He looks around, carrying a laser pistol. He moves past Mr. Universe and Lenore.
Mal. Guy killed me, Mal.
Interior basement over the generator. Mal is reaching and surveys the situation. Before him is a railing, and he can look down on the generator shaft. It's miles deep with machines rotating and grinding, the arcs of electricity ricocheting around. On the other side is a platform with a broad wave console sitting and behind a clear plastic partition. Cables and chains run along the ceiling around a series of ladder rungs.
Hard to get to. Yeah, that's a fact.
Interior black room. The door is pried partially open, enough for one reaver to squeeze through the charge. Zoe stands up and shoots him in the head. He arcs back as a second comes. Zoe shoots him, calmly walking towards the door.
Garment.
Zoe. But she is in a
Zoe.
trance, and we see beneath the calm to the bubbling magma and rage that keeps her firing single shots, each one a kill, till 5 men down and she's out of ammo. The sixth comes at her swinging a blade, and she blocks. The precision of a military training still in her as she flips him, wrestling the blade free and swinging it down out of frame, bringing up the bloody swinging again, and the door bursts open and she's rushed from behind. But Jayne totes an automatic sprays, killing fire on the lot, moving forward himself.
Zoe, get your ass back in the line.
She looks up, almost confused, and one of Jayne's targets comes back off the ground and slices her back with a blade. She screams as it cuts deep, and an arrow lodges in his neck. Inara pulls up a fresh arrow, shaking only slightly. Interior basement over the generator later. Mal's on the railing, reaching for the rungs on the ceiling just above him. He can almost get them. One wrong move and he pitches into the jaws of death. A laser shot nails him in the lower back. He arches, legs slipping off the rail, and he falls and hits the rail with the back of his legs, flipping painfully onto the face. He falls mercifully back on the platform. The operative comes around some equipment for some closer shot as Mal gets shakily up.
You shot me in the back. I haven't made you angry, have I?
There's a lot of innocent people in the air being killed right now.
You have no idea how true that is.
There's no wise-ass attitude in him now. They stand facing off 10 pieces.
I know the secret now. Truth that burned up River Tam's brain and set you after her. The rest of the verse is going to know it too. Because they need to.
You really believe that?
I do.
You willing to die for that belief?
I am.
The operative raises his gun, but Mal, as a quick draw master, shoots the gun out of the operative's hand and gets 2 hits to the chest, armored before he makes it to cover.
Of course, they ain't exactly plan A.
He drops out of his cartridge and slams another in. The operative hides behind the machinery, tries to peek out at Mal, and more shots send him scrambling back to cover. Mal holsters his gun and jumps for the rung above him, starts going over, hand to the island, moving as fast as he can. The operative sees his movement, dives for his gun, but it's been ruined by Mal's shot. He looks over at Mal with death in his eyes. He runs up at the railing, vaults off it, and grabs a chain. It snaps as he swings, grabbing another. He reaches Mal and double kicks him from behind. Mal flies off the rung and grabs the chain. He tries to kick up the operative, but the guy is frickin' Tarzan. He climbs up and pulls the lever, releasing one of the end of Mal's chain. Mal goes swinging, smacks into the wall 6 feet below the platform. He scrambles up just above. The operative swings himself towards the platform from above. Interior black room, inner corridor. Jayne is still firing continuously as he drags Zoe back to the barricades. Simon moves to help. Kaylee firing now, squinting with effort, and pulls open the cut back of Zoe's shirt, checks the wound.
Spine's intact.
Just give me a bandage.
Simon pulls a spray can from his bag, sprays around the wound with, pause for a second, pause. Simon pulls the spray can from his bag, sprays the wound with a film that hardens instantly to an elastic covering. There are a few gunshots as well as nail balls and blades from the Reavers. Jayne switches weapons, teasing another to Zoe and opening fire.
Oh, now you're liking guns, huh, cheaters?
He takes a hit in the shoulder, grimaces, and keeps firing. River watches the gun limp in her hand. Kaylee grabs it and starts another round, but she's peppered with dart-like projectiles. She screams and drops the weapon, pulling back the projectiles from her. Inara helps her, pulls her back up as Zoe shouts,
"Everybody fall back! Fall back!"
Everyone stumbles or is dragged into the inner corridor. Inara hits the controls as the doors start to close from each side and above and below. Then the hole is moving 4x4 and they stop.
Jayne, grenade.
Very last one.
He tosses it through the hole. Zoe doesn't even flinch from the blast as she thinks.
Get in.
Can close it from the outside?
No one's coming back from that.
She tries to stand and fails.
Have.
We got 3 full cartridges and my swinging cod. That's all.
The lift isn't moving.
When they come, try to plug the hole with them.
Kaylee cries out and Simon her.
I'm starting to lose some feeling here. I think there's something in them darts they throw at me.
Lie still. I'm going to give you something to counteract, though.
He stands looking around him. His bag is over by Zoe.
My bag.
Scrap! A bullet takes him in the belly. Everything suddenly moving very slowly as he spins slightly. 1 foot lifted, a confused expression on his face, then speeding right back up as he slams down on his back. gasping for air. River's mouth opens in a scream she doesn't make. Blood spreads from Simon's belly. Inara rushes to him, grabs cloth, puts pressure on the wound, puts Simon's hand on it. Keep pressure here.
Back. Need adrenaline and shot of Califar from Kaylee. I can't. River.
She's by his side, takes his hand. She has some kind of serenity to her, like she understands something now.
River. I'm sorry.
No.
The lights go out. Everyone looks about them. Jayne fires again, but the sound is all bled out to save these two.
I hate to leave.
You won't. You take care of me, Simon. You always taking care of me.
She stands as the emergency lights come on, giving her face an unearthly glow as she looks down at him.
My turn.
She's running so fast, nobody has time to react till she dives through the hole in the doors. Then Simon screams her name and screams us, following back to the black room where River lands in a perfect roll, comes up the room full of reavers. Without a moment's hesitation, she makes it to the panel, gets the doors closing. She dodges a blade, but to blow the back of the head shakes her. She weaves around, a couple of reavers stick at the closing doors, but the last second her ankle is grabbed and pulled out from under her. The last thing we see is her being dragged back as they swarm over her. Ankle on the blast doors. They shut with a shuddering clung, entering the basement over the generator. Mal gets up in a chain to the platform. The operative is on Mal before he gets his footing, tackles him, and Mal's gun goes skittering over the edge into the oblivion. There's a railing here, or Mal would go over as well, but he comes back with a couple hammer blows and gets the operative off of him. They square off, Mal stumbling back into the tool chest, knocking over the tools and computer parts. The operative reaches behind him and pulls his sword gracefully from the holster under his jacket. Mal produces his weapon, a tiny screwdriver. He hurls the toolbox at the operative and rushes him. He gets inside sword range and tries for the neck with the screwdriver, but the operative blocks it, and it works the sword point against the edge of Mal's stomach, starts pushing slowly despite Mal's resistance, and breaks skin. Mal looks at the operative a moment, and then the sword slides all the way through Mal's belly. Mal's eyes go wide.
You know what your sin is, Malcolm?
Oh, hell. I'm a fan of all 7.
Headbutts the operative viciously, then punches him so hard he staggers back, losing his sword. The operative responds with a spin kick. Mal holds up the screwdriver, and the operative springs his foot right into it. Gasping as Mal pulls the screwdriver and leg, it's stuck back as he rocks his fist into the operative's chin. The operative goes down hard, dazed as Mal grabs the sword still in his belly.
Right now?
He pulls the sword out, grimacing, and holds it to the operative. The smile gone.
I'm gonna have to go with Wrath.
He stabs down his foe's face. The operative rolls out of the way, kicks Mal from the ground, and is up in a second, grabbing Mal's sword hand. The sword drops and punching him repeatedly as in his stomach wound. In the inner hall, continuing, the gang is subdued because they were all of them injured, and Simon is slipping away. Jayne looks at Zoe.
You suppose he got through? Think Mal got the word out?
Got through. I know he got through.
Interior basement over the generator. Mal goes down hard, spitting up blood. He sees the sword moves. The operative kicks him in the face, picks up Mal. Mal too tired to throw a decent punch.
Sorry.
The operative spins him and digs his bunched fingers right into the same nerve clusters he paralyzed Dr. Mathias with. Mal goes rigid, his face pain. The operative goes near the railing and retrieves the sword. Mal trembles, trying to move, but nothing happens.
You should know there's no scheme in this. You've done remarkable things. But you're fighting a war you've already lost.
He lunges and Mal twists gracefully out of the way, grabbing the operative's sword and pulls it forward while driving his elbow into the operative's neck with staggering force.
Well, I'm known for that.
The operative drops his blade, mouth open, stumbling back, unable to make a sound. Mal spins on him, grabbing both of his arms, working his own through them in a twisted full Nelson, then bringing his arms out suddenly. The operative's mouth going wider as we hear arms crack. Mal drops him, sitting against the railing, picks up his sword, saying,
Piece of shrapnel. Tore up that nerve cluster my first tour. So I had it moved.
He squats down, looks at the operative in the face.
Sorry about the throat. Expect you want to say your famous last words now. Just one trouble.
He reaches out over the railing, pulls the back of the operative jacket through and shoves the sword through fabric, pinning the operative in his sitting position.
I ain't gonna kill you.
He moves to the console, starts prepping it.
Hell, I'm gonna grant your greatest wish.
He inserts the cylinder, turns it slightly. It hums to life.
I'm gonna show you a world without sin.
He hits send all. The cylinder lights up and the broadcast begins. Here it is projected as a two-dimensional image on the clear plastic partition right in front of the operative. There are images, first of the city, of bodies on the street and homes and offices, image after image, just as we saw in the research vessel and in River's mind.
These are some of the first sites we scouted on Miranda. There's no one living on this planet. There is no one.
Mel hits the controls and a ramp extends towards the other side. He begins to cross, never looks back. On the operative, trapped, watching in growing horror. Interior the black room continuous, close on a Reaver in extreme slow motion, a face full of fury. He is swinging his blade in a frenzy of hate, and a small hand smashes that face so hard the teeth fly in the Reaver, clearing the frame to reveal River. She's bloodied, but not killed. She's as she was in the bar, moving faster, more efficiently than anyone can, ducking and weaving and gutting and kicking. There are piles of Reavers already. She never breaks concentration as she uses their own blades against them, throws them, does everything in her power to stay one step ahead of or above the mob. She slams backwards into a wall opposite the blast doors and grappling hook punches through it, just missing her. Interior basement over the generator. The operative watches at the end of the broadcast. We are on his face through the clear plastic, so the images projected on it blur right before him. The Reaver, Dr. Caron, and her screaming doesn't help stop until something is shoved in her mouth. Interior hall continues. The gang is still trying to patch themselves together when the elevator is open. Mal staggers out, holding his bleeding side.
Sir?
It's done. Report.
Zoe looks at the badly wounded Simon. He's about to give a report, and the doors start to open behind her. Everyone turns to look. Those who can feebly raising weapons as the square irises of the opening blast doors widens to reveal River, standing alone. She's holding two Reaver blades, is bloody but unbound, and the only one alive. We hold on her a moment, and then the wall behind her is ripped completely away. Behind it, grappling hooks chained to a huge tractor pull the wall away. Through the smoke as come 15 Alliance soldiers who line up, rifles trained on our game.
Drop your weapons. Drop them now.
Do we engage? Do we engage?
Mal and the others tense up. River slowly turns to face the soldiers, blades still gripped. Soldier levels his gun at her, sweaty, frantic. Others still shouting. Interior the basement over the generator. The operative sits in silence, their voices coming over his comm.
Targets are acquired. Do we have a kill order? Do we have an order?
Interior black room, plus on the soldier's finger, squeezing the trigger. Blackout. Exterior desert planet, sunset. We are close on the gravestone. It is rounded, more like a bell than a headstone. It is topped by a jar built into that stone. The jar is weathered tin on top of the bottom, but glass in the middle. Inside the glass, we can see one of those slightly moving photos. It is a Mr. Universe and his Lovebot. And the name Mr. Universe is carved roughly in the stone beneath. The camera moves to the right and we see another such stone, this one bearing the image of inscription of Shepherd Derial Book. The third is Hoban Washburn. Wash. The camera continues moving right, and the next stone houses a small handmade rocket. Pieces of paper taped to it instead of a picture jar. Affixing another slip of paper to it is River. She moves away from the stone as Mal does likewise. They're flanked by the crew. Jayne, Inara, to whom Mal moves, Simon, who stands holding River before him, hand in hand with Kaylee. He has a crutch supporting his other side. I looked horrible when I turned the line on, sorry. There was a moment, and then they all move aside, saying nothing between them. Walks Zoe in a simple white funeral gown, holding a burning taper. She stands at the stones a moment and holds the taper to the rocket fuse, stands back with the others. The rocket shoots up into the darkening sky. They all watch its sputtering tail a moment, then it explodes in a series of fireworks. White on the group, so fireworks go over their heads. We are close to another explosion when it becomes, was it on a blowtorch, spitting sparks, wide to see. Exterior repair yard, Serenity Day. Zoe is harnessed to the nose of the ship, welding on a replacement for the very window the harpoon that impaled Wash came through. Interior duct inside Serenity. We are close in on River as she works inside a crawl space just above the engine room, replacing wires. Some of them run into a computer screen that she checks and adjusts. Exterior repair yard, top of Serenity. Mal and Jayne hold on to the cannon as a crane lifting off the top of the ship closes on Mal as he watches it go. Wide anger on a repair yard. And here we see the whole ship for the first time, harnessed by the wings above the ground so she can be worked on all over. The cannon is being hoisted away from her as the crew of repairmen wheel a new landing gear under her belly. Interior the engine room, Kaylee, deeply greasy, tweaks a part on the engine and crosses to the back where Simon, shirtless and not entirely ungreasy himself, is wrenching a bolt into place above his head. A moment looking at him, and she can't help herself. She slides her arm around his chest. On a scaffold, Inara repaints the name on the nose with an elegant precision. Interior engine room day. Kaylee and Simon are just making out like fiends, working work it's completely forgotten. With nothing resemble elegant precision, they sink out of the frame onto the floor. A beat in River's head appears from the crawl space above, looking down at him with detached curiosity. Totally forgot that creepy part. Exterior repair yard, Serenity. It's raining as Mal is hauling over the last repair equipment. Camera moves around him, skirting the ground of the junkyard till it lands on a figure in the foreground, standing, watching him from some 20 feet away. Mal stops, doesn't turn. Hand nears his gun.
You're here to tell me we ain't finished. This will be real.
Sorry, you're breaking up again. The operative stands just under the canopy of the nose of the ship, framed by the rain behind.
Do you know what an uproar you caused? Protests, riots, cries for recall of the entire parliament.
We've seen the Broadways.
You must be pleased.
Yeah, Verse wakes up a spell. Won't be long before she rolls right over and falls back asleep. Tain't my worry.
I can't guarantee they won't come after you. The parliament. They have 100 men like me, and they are not forgiving.
That don't bone especially well for you. Giving the order to let us go, patching up our hurt.
I told them the Tams were no longer a threat. Damage done. They might listen, but I think they know I'm no longer their man.
I take you down, don't expect to grieve over much. About to kill you myself, see you again.
You won't. There is nothing left to see.
Mal looks at him in a moment, then picks up his gear to head inside. The operative starts away into the rain, then stops to look at the nose of the ship. Anglon, the newly painted Serenity, standing tall in the rain.
Serenity. You lost everything in that battle. Everything you had. Everything you were. How did you go on?
Mal hits the button to close the inner doors, steps aside as they slide together, glances at the operative unimpressed.
You're still standing there when the engine starts. You'll never figure it out.
The operative watches the door shut a moment and he goes. Interior cargo bay continuing. Mal stows the gear as Zoe approaches.
Oh, whiner.
Sir, we have a green light in inspections POS and we're clear for upthrust.
Think she'll hold together?
She tore up plenty. She'll fly true.
A beep before.
Make sure everything's secure. Could be bumpy.
Always is.
She takes off and Mal heads up the stairs. Interior foredeck call continuing. Mal comes in and runs into Inara. Jayne passes through as they talk, heading down to his bunk, pays them no mind. Neither do Simon or Kaylee in the dining room, stowing supplies, probably making out.
We're taking her out. Should be about a day's ride to get you back to your girls.
Right.
Ready to get off this heap and back to your civilized life?
I don't know.
Good answer.
Interior bridge continuous. Mal eases himself into his seat, takes a moment to adjust one of Wash's dashboard dinosaurs and looks to his left.
You can ride shotgun? Help me fly?
River's in the co-pilot seat, looking intently at the screens and buttons.
That's the plan.
Think you can work out how to get her in the
She's flipping switches up without even looking, and the ship hums to life. Exterior Serenity, her engines fire up until she lifts gently off the ground. Interior bridge continuing. Mal looks only slightly nonplussed.
Okay. Clearly some aptitude for the ain't all buttons and charts, little albatross. You know the first rule of flying is? I suppose you do, since you already know what I'm about to say.
I do, but I like to hear you say it.
He looks up out of the rain on his windows and screens, taking her up as he says,
Love. You can learn all the math and the verse, but you take a boat in the air you don't love. She'll shake you off as sure as the turn of the worlds. Love keeps her in the air when she ought to fall down, tells she's hurt before she keens. Makes her a home.
River also looks out at the sky.
Storm's getting worse.
And we'll pass through it soon enough.
Exterior Serenity continuous as we shoot up the sky through sheeting rain towards the top of the sky. Exterior space moments later, we are looking down on the storm clouds as Serenity bursts out of them, comes at us, fired by the sun behind the planet as she passes us, her firefly effect lighting up, about to shoot off into the heavens. There's a spark and a piece of paneling pops off, whips back the camera, blacking out the frame.
What was that?
The end.
And thank you for joining us for Serenity. We'll see you at whatever the next one is.